Chapter 177, The Deadliest Hopscotch Game Ever. 3. John retrieved the paper with grab spell and sat on the ground thinking what should he do. So, the enchantments on the Dwarven Centurions was part of the answer. But a zero-gravity area is not easy to build with magic. Actually, it is impossible to negate all the gravitational force coming from the planet and then enchant a whole 40 by 50 meters area with no power source whatsoever. It is impossible even if you are Divaith freaking FYR. John sat on the ground and started making the calculations again and again with every aspect and effect he knows of, but they were all not possible by mortal means. Technically, it is possible to make the Dwarven Centurions resist the zero gravity without enchantments. They are dead objects, so there's no need to go through all the trouble as it won't affect them anyway, because you can't possibly create such a gravity-free zone with magic. It is against the natural law, so this is not a zero-gravity room. At this part, John was absorbed in the mystery of the room and didn't even think about the cube anymore. He just sat there and began studying. On the top floor of Tel FYR, 6 dark elves were watching while nodding. It is true, it is against the natural law. He surely picked that up fast. Foo-foo. Don't look down on my apprentice, Bait. He is not even trying just yet, said the one who fell on her knees just a minute ago and begged Lord FYR to take him out. Alf, leave me alone. I actually didn't think he would be able to kill the bull Kagudi and even reach to the puzzle room. You have a good apprentice, Nerina. Thank you, Delt. Sorry for worrying you. Excuse me, Lord FYR, but how did he manage to reach the puzzle room? And what is that cube he is aiming for? Ups asked the elderly dark elf who was sitting on a chair and watching John. A dear and old friend of mine built this room with me, so we can watch a few good challenges together. The cube was something he worked on to be something similar to a masterpiece he created long ago. Alas, he passed away before we receive our first challenger. The man spoke in a normal tone that reflected some of his sadness. The 5 ladies were shocked with the emotion Lord Divaith FYR showed. The man who was mostly indifferent and expressionless was speaking softly. As for how he got there, he used the old big pipe. And the reason behind him targeting the cube should be fate. Back to John, who was in the middle of a brainstorm. He was sometimes writing and sometimes looking around like crazy while counting stuff and making things in order. So it is not a gravity spell, as I said. It is simply a levitation spell. But that still doesn't make any sense. The space negates all sorts of water walking, levitation, and teleportation spells. So how can it be possible that? Oh, John jumped up and looked around again. The space. The answer is the space. John was happy for some reason, and he collected the tools he took out and put them back on his bag. The answer he arrived for was that the gravity law in the room was not enchanted. It was the space that was enchanted to make anything in the surrounding levitate, including dead objects. The dormant Dwarven Centurions were all distractions. A facade to make the challenger not focus on the main issue. Levitation was applied onto space, and the Dwarven Animunculi were all here to make it look like they are not flying around because of the resist gravity effect. The truth was that they are stuck to the ground and are not going to move by all means. The Dwarven spiders were put behind the walls to make a background effect and distract from focusing on the main issue. The focus tends to flatter away when a lot of threats are around. Even the Dwarven spider that John met outside the room was there to give the illusion that they can come out easily, so the challengers had to be wary all the time. Now, none of that was even the main issue. John had to find a way to navigate across the levitation area and avoid any of the traps that he didn't even find yet. Still, he had an idea where they are. In the space, just like the enchantment, John realized that the traps are not in this version of reality. They were applied on space and designed to be activated once space they are connected to gets messed with. John spread his detection far and wide, then retrieved it and focused it around his eyes. He then opened his eyes and activated his new version of detection, the third eye or the eye of the mind. What he saw next was something out of fairy tale. It was simply marvelous. In the empty place in front of him, A lot of ruined circle with all sizes and colors were filling the space. It looked like a festival of magic that was about to be unleashed when a small thing is just to touch one of those. They were all beautiful magic circles that were imprinted on the space, but each and every one of them is deadly without a doubt. One wrong move, and death is a certain thing. All these magic traps were all around the third section of the room, filling of the space. Hee hee hee. Now that's what I call a trap. John shook his head helplessly as he had no idea who to bypass that trap. He was lost in its beauty and wonder to the point that he was just simply standing there doing nothing. He knew that the moment he steps in there, he'll be just moving around with no control over himself in a zero-gravity, mimicking levitation space. Or maybe, can it be another round of hopscotch? John had this funny idea that seemed to be very unreal, but when he thought about it, it actually became visible to him. I see. That rune and that rune, shut up. Could it be really done that way? John started making his calculations once again and detected the safest route to the cube. Sigh, here goes nothing. John walked into the space and completely submitted himself to the levitation force. Once he was in, there was no room for mistakes. He calmed down and tried to reach clarity, then opened his eyes and pushed himself slowly and very carefully towards a certain white magic circle in the space. He kept flying slowly until he reached the circle. Once he put his hand on it, he felt like it had a matter and reassembled a platform in the middle of space. Genius! He couldn't help but praise. John then stepped on the circle and pushed himself through the space towards the other one, and from it to the other, the third, and the fourth. A minute later, John was floating in front of the Dwemer cube. Hee, found you. John was feeling great, but he had to be cautious of any hidden trap around the cube. The cube was surrounded by a glass container and was locked with a key. The keyhole was protected with magic and could only be locked by a key, or a good old lockpicks. John took out some lockpicks from his box and isolated the magic in the keyhole from interfering with the picks. Luckily, it didn't require a certain key to open the lock, as the lockpicks were already doing their charm, and tink! The lock opened safely, and John could open the display and stretch his hands in. Of course, just like any cliché story, once John held the cube in his hand, shit went down. First, the levitation enchantment on the space got disabled, and all the traps on the space also disappeared. John, who was floating, fell on his face. Ouch, okay. I saw that one coming, so I won't complain. No, I am complaining. Why are you guys moving? John looked around and saw a horde of dwarven animunculi swarming from left and right. All the dwarven spiders and the dwarven spheres that he assumed won't be moving all came towards him at once. Tink fee, tink tink tink, stomp stomp. John heard a more unpleasant sound behind him, and lo and behold, the 3 dwarven centurion that just came back to life. So, you guys were to come out when the cube is taken? TSK, how dirty. John already collected the prize and was in no mood to stay. The third section's traps were all removed, but the no teleportation, no levitation rules were still applied. More to that, on higher platforms, some new faces entered the scene. A total of 10 dwarven ballistas came out and aimed their big bolts at John. Perfect. I guess it is time for me to go. John started walking slowly while smiling to the dwarven spiders and spheres around him. He then broke into running towards the second section. All sorts of projectiles were shot at him, yet he reacted faster and increased his speed to the limit. With only a few meters away from the second section, John got ready to take the show to an end. Ladies, this is the day you'll always remember as the day you almost caught Captain John Dare. Would not KSD. All I can remember next was causing a big explosion after going through the second section with the whirlwind sprint shout, and the shockwave sent me flying through the first section. I then landed outside it and used the teleportation scroll to return back to the Onyx Hall. The ones received me were Nurina, the FYR sisters, and an elderly dark elf with silver hair that I directly recognized as Lord Divaith FYR. Apprentice John Hild Firemane pays his respect to great grandmaster. I mimicked some of these wuxia novels when an apprentice grates a great master. Dive 8th FYR is the greatest master after all. Haha, Dive 8th freaking FYR accepts your respect. Oh boy, he must have heard it. I felt like being struck by lightning, but it seemed Lord FYR took it as a joke. Sigh. Heroes, they get luckier every century. Lord FYR sighed and spoke with a smile. This cube, why did you choose it? Lord FYR asked me a question I was really trying to figure out an answer for. I can't possibly say that a creepy, incorporeal entity that dwells inside me gave me a hint. A creepy, incorporeal entity that dwells inside me gave me a hint. Aha! Amazing, you have one of those. Lord FYR laughed it off. By the way, that cube was made by my dearest friend, so I will lend it to you. Whoever of us dies first, then the cube will belong to the living one. Oh, it seems the cube is really precious and holds a sentimental value for Lord FYR. I wanted to return it back, but I really went through some crazy troubles to get my hands on it. Deal. Good then. I hope to see you once you have grown into the best promise of yourself. Until then, Lord FYR said and turned away. I was holding myself not to blush the whole time. This is Lord FYR. I don't want to sound like a pervert, but when he patted my shoulder just a while ago, I vowed to not ever let anything touch it again. I am considering removing it and keeping it in a museum. Once he turned around and left, Bait and Ups followed him, and I got introduced to Delt, who arrived just a while ago. After that, Narina took me to the side. Brat, do you know what you just take? She was speaking, and beams of joy were shooting from her eyes. Nope, I just felt it as the best thing in there. Damn, you are so lucky. Listen closely, the place you went in was an old Dwemer ruin that got relocated under Tel FYR by Lord FYR and a close friend of his. Uh-huh, I see. So that friend is the expert in the Dwemer artifacts. I'm glad you noticed. Hey, was it Jägerbegarn? No, it is not. I doubt that he would want to do anything related to Lord FYR's personal sport. Not Jägerbegarn, the last living Dwemer? Then who is it? The room you was in is called the Puzzle Room. It was created by the efforts of Lord FYR and his venerable friend, and you just beat it and took its most important treasure. You brat has beaten the work of Dungeon Master, who is specialized in magic, and a Puzzle Master, who is specialized in Dwemer technology. I gulped a mouthful of saliva. Damn, I clearly realized what I just did. Who is Lord FYR's friend? And what is that artifact? Narina sighed and calmed down, then said some words that I doubt my sanity afterward. The friend is Sothasil, and the artifact is the Haven Cube. And the Haven Cube is inspired by the mod Haven Bag by Hai Shao. Just an immersive and lore-friendly version of it. Chapter 178, Back to Winterhold. And a big shout for Jack, Marius Arnezen, and Murdad Elizade Coruscani for their support on. You guys are awesome. Also, I am sorry for not checking on lately because of technical internet issues in Egypt. I had to make peace with myself first before thinking of what really happened once again. My thoughts were all jumbled up because of what Narina has just told me. The Haven Cube, she said. An artifact with a ridiculous ability that can be described as heaven-defying and earth-shattering. Not only a subdimensional storage, but also a shelter. No wonder Lord FYR was reluctant to let me go with it at first. Okay, so let's sort things out. A subdimensional storage is a term that can make the world go insane. If it was done by magic, then people won't really think a lot about it, as the mage, who can just create that function by spell, is just an entity one shouldn't mess with. But things will get a whole different turn when it comes to an artifact like the Haven Cube. I dare to say that even Emperor Titus Mede II and the Almarai Dominion, as well as all the other powers and clans, will go after a weak character like me with all sorts of claims. And that's just the start of it. This is not just a subdimensional storage artifact. It is a shelter, a safe haven, something that can be accessed with one's own body. How ridiculous that is. Well, it is very ridiculous. The theory about it is probably very relatable to creating one's own realm like a Daedric prince or an original spirit. freaking ridiculous. And if that is not badass enough, then how about its size? Nerina said that the inside of the cube is 8,000 square meters that can be divided into multiple floors and rooms. That's right, the owner can add and remove floors and rooms within those 8,000 meters square. Not enough? Then how about some history lesson? This artifact was created by the one and only Sothis Sil, a ridiculous being among the ridiculous beings. Who the hell is Sothis Sil? Sothis Sil, also called Lord Set, was one of the members of the Tribunal, the divine rulers of Morrowind, alongside Vivek and Almalexia, as the three were worshipped literally like gods. For his feats, Sothis Sil was called an architect of time, a binder of oblivion, and the mystery of Morrowind. He is known by many other titles, such as the Clockwork God, Father of Mysteries, the Inspiration of Craft and Sorcery, the Light of Knowledge, Magus, Magician, Sorcerer, Tinkerer, and later a Saint of the New Temple. He was said to be reshaping the world from his hidden Clockwork City, a mechanical city that was physically contained inside a person-sized celestial drome. Sothis Sil the Magus was the patron of artificers and wizards and the mightiest wizard and the wisest counselor of the First Council, and also spent time training the Psijic Order on Artium. According to the Tribunal Temple cult, Sothis Sil was the light of knowledge and the inspiration of craft and sorcery. One thing to take note of was that Sothis Sil and Lord FYR were best buddies. One was fond of puzzles, and the other was fond of dungeons. For them to create a puzzle dungeon together, and this humble Dragonborn beats it, I say I'm going to brag about that in front of Alduin himself when I get the chance. Putting all that aside, I kept looking at the Haven Cube while cleaning it with a cloth and laughing unintentionally. Joel and Wolf were looking at me, as if I am sort of an idiot, but I skillfully ignored them. Oh right, we returned to Winterhold, and we held a meeting at my house. So you in a Morrowind? Without me? Jelliner didn't let one off, and met with your Grandmaster and Great-Grandmaster, who are some extreme beings. Wolf was also disappointed. Sigh. Wait until Alina hears of this. She will be heartbroken to not get that chance. Nerina was consoling them. Human, play with me, and Nefertiti didn't let go of me since I arrived. I love this family atmosphere, but can I please focus on how this thing works? The cube was left for me to figure out how it works, so I took my time studying it. I mostly figured the whole idea about it, but had to learn a few things first before fully utilizing it. I'm afraid we are not that free. You have a meeting with the head of the technology department, Eliel. Then you will have to meet Alishka to sign the financial papers. Also, there is a shipment of horses that will be delivered by the Firemane Skyfire Company. The Moonblades will send their people to talk with us regarding the future of Winterhold 2. The most annoying thing you will have to deal with now is the Imperial Legion that demanded some supplies and the people from Solitude that accused us with tax evasion. The construction department wants to get some tasks too, and there are some meetings you have to attend. Joel spoiled my mood by acting as my secretary. And we need some funds. Wolf joined in. That too, Joel confirmed. I looked at them and felt how much they are happy at my misfortune. These cheeky brats were just at each other's throats a month ago. I think I created a department to manage all that stuff when I am not free. I said and returned to scanning the cube. The management department? Yes, but we are short on employees. Joel said, I'm not talking about the management department. I'm talking about the mercenary corps and the security department. I don't remember what happened after that, but I am pretty sure I was knocked down and got dragged all the way to the office. 3 nights later, still working. 1 week later, let go of me. Back to your office. 2 weeks later, I was finally released. You may take my life, but you will never take my freedom. Quit screwing around. There is a report from Team Zero. Joel whispered to me. Oh, something happened? The person you were looking for has appeared in Winterhold. Oh, Team Zero is one of the mercenary teams in the Dare Dragon Mercenary Corps, the new military contractor in Winterhold. Team Zero is my personal guards on the surface, but they are also my best men in the private intelligence agency that I personally lead. Jelliner is the head of the team, of course. And by the person I was looking for, it means that someone has finally appeared. It is an expert researcher at the matter of soul gems, Nellikar. Nellikar was a minor NPC in the game, involved in a quest or two. Apart from that, he was also a magic merchant. I had some important business with him, so I took a small bag from my desk and went directly to the Frozen Hearth Inn. Lately, as I started walking through the roads of Winterhold, some people would gather around me and start complaining about all sorts of stuff. I had to create a small office and for the complaints and the requests, but they never quit. Joel forced me to be accompanied with bodyguards since then. I could just teleport, you know. Still, I was refused on sight. Women love to take care of every single detail, man. Anyway, I started walking the street with my bodyguards lately, and damn, it feels so good to be a celebrity. I look like a boss walking with some mini-bosses that one has to beat before reaching me. Anyway, as I reach the inn, I call for Dager the innkeeper and ask for Nellikar, so I was guided to a room in the side. Who I saw was someone as tall as me, a high elf with golden skin and all. He looked rather old in age, too. Hello. Am I speaking to the wizard Nellikar? Who sent you? Was it the college? The Jarl? We had an understanding that there would be no more questions. The man spoke to me with disdain before I even say anything. I sighed inwardly. High elves are all pain in the ass, except for Faralda. She is cool. My name is John Dare. The elf looked at me with his brows raised. He clearly recognized my name. The new overlord of Winterhold. I have heard about you. What is it? You want to question my presence in this town too? And no, you must have taken it the wrong way. Let me welcome you back to Winterhold on behalf of myself and the Dare Dragon Company. The presence of an elven mage like yourself in our town is a welcome occurrence in our town. Nellikar paused what he was doing and looked at me closely. Interesting. I'll listen to you, but let me tell you this first. You are not to stick your nose into my business, and we will be fine. The Altmare said with all the arrogance in the world. I smiled and held myself from saying anything. I really wanted to experiment how much can the dragon language affect the mindset of a high elf. I will do it, but not now. Then I will cut straight to the chase. I took out the small leather bag that I carried and put it on the desk in front of him. This is me interfering in your business in a very rude way that I hope you would forgive me afterward. But it's of urgent importance. Nellikar looked at the bag and opened it, emptying its contents on the table. What he saw made him jump from his chair and run to the wall as far away from me as possible. I was about to laugh at the scaredy elf, but I think I should keep it to myself. The Star of Azura? Gods, it's all finally coming back to haunt me. His expressions were that of an absolute terror. Calm down. It is isolated and contained, I said, and stood up to calm him down. It took a few minutes to comfort him back to the right mindset. So, you want me to fix it for you? Impossible. Please, don't be unreasonable. You know very well why I came to you of all people, and I know very well that you would hate to see anyone doing it other than you. Isn't this the thing you always think of as your mistake? This thing. Do you even know what are you dealing with? I have the general idea. TSK. General ideas are not enough. What do you know about soul gems? I am Nurina Aren's son. I know everything there is to know about them. Oh, Nurina Aren, an elitist in the mage community. So you are the Nord's son I heard rumors about. Naturally. Good then, back to our topic. As you know, soul gems are used for enchanting, but the gem is always consumed. They're frail. Except for one. Azura's Star. Correct. Azura's Star, a Daedric artifact that allows any number of souls to pass through it. Some of us wanted to find out how. I was working under Malinvarin then. If only we knew what he was really planning. Immortality. You are well informed. Malin wanted to alter the star as he was dying. He thought he could store his own soul inside. Become immortal. It drove him mad. Students started dying. Eventually, the college exiled him. He took a few loyal disciples away and vanished. Look, I don't care how you found the star, but don't take it back to Azura. The Daedra are evil. They're the reason Malin went insane. I understand, but what made him think he can alter the star? Sigh. Look, Azura is no ordinary Daedra. She commands an entire realm inside of oblivion. The more Malin worked on the star, the more she was able to damn him. It started slowly at first. Malin would see things that weren't there. Then he would yell at students over words they hadn't said. Then one day, I walked in and Malin had killed a student, and in a horrific moment of inspiration, he started using her soul for his work. And now his soul dwells inside the star. I thought if I isolated the star, we can weaken him and cut his connection to the outside. Well done. You're not Nerina's son for nothing. So can you help me exorcise Malin's souls away? Nellakar sighed and nodded. Maybe this is my chance to make things right. I can finish Malin's work, the way we had meant to before his madness. It would mean cutting the star off from Azura. Only black souls would be able to enter it once we finished. Understand, then let's hurry. Who knows if Azura is watching right now? We both nodded to each other and started the preparations. Chapter 179, The Magicka Reactor. Nellakar put the Azura star on the table and started preparing some necessary scrolls to seal the room we are in and not alert anyone if anything gets out of hand. After that, he started analyzing the star. These fissures and cracks aren't encouraging. Malin obviously was growing more desperate once he left the college. After more analyzing, he did it. He actually managed to trap his own soul inside the star, but it's falling apart. It needs more souls to sustain itself. The star is being used to sustain Malin's soul. I can't fix it while that fragment of him is inside. Is there any other way to deal with him? There is, but it's not as simple as enchanting Malin away. He's put up barriers. Souls are only allowed in, not out. If we were to somehow send a soul inside the star, one that was ready to overpower Malin from the inside. Nellakar seemed a bit depressed while saying so. He's going to ask me to kill his friend. Is it possible? Nellakar sighed and nodded. He's already dead. Worse, the enchantment keeping him intact requires black souls. I don't know how many people he must have killed. If we don't do something, the enchantment will eventually fade and the star will slip back into oblivion. Azura will have the last laugh. So, I could soul trap you, place you inside the star, then bring you back once Malin has been dealt with. It is a special type of soul trap, placing you inside the star without fully killing you. Once Malin has been dealt with, I'll bring you back. I was waiting for him to offer me that. I guess there's no other way then. I understand if you need some time to prepare. Let me know when you're ready. No need for waiting. Let's do this. After some time, I lied on a bed and Nellakar started preparing the spell. Once he cast it on me, my consciousness faded and I found myself in a strange place. This was probably the interior of the star. It was a light blue, surreal world with spikes and chiming sounds. That looks great. What happened here? For some reason, I heard the voice of the augur. Oh, Brother Augur, I woke you up. I suspect you got your soul trapped in Azura's star. Yes. How did you respond so quickly? It happens that we have an astral link together. All right. What is your plan from this point onward? Can you collect the data from this small world while I get stall Malin for some time? I can do that. What kind of data are you after? Oh, anything related to the structure and the rules of this small world. Not anything special. I will finish and notify you. Thanks. The augur was still as emotionless as ever, but the data I am after is important to some extent. My job now was to look for Malin, who was probably in the deepest part of the star. On the way, I happened to meet up with some ghastly remains and Daedric vestiges. Some of them were Draymora that seemed to be allied with Malin, but I got rid of them right away. Malin himself was found in a haggard state after being isolated by me for some time. He has clearly become madder than before. From that time, since I took the broken star from his cult, I have kept him sustained on some animals and white souls. These were far from enough, but they kept his soul from perching away. Now his soul was in front of me cursing and screaming while calling his apprentices the trashes who can't hunt a prey. Once his soul saw mine, it turned into a berserk state and tried to devour me with its all. I only overpowered him with my sheer magicka and kept him at bay for a few minutes until the augur finished what he was doing. I have what you need. We are off then. I overpowered Malin's soul further with only magicka and it broke right away. So weak. At this point, Nellakar pulled me out. So the star cleansed itself? Yes. You've changed the fate of a Daedric artifact and lived. Congratulations. And keep the damn thing. I'd rather put that chapter of my life behind. Thank you, Nelikar. If you ever want anything, you can find me right away. I will also notify my people to help you in any way they can. I bid Nelikar farewell and left the inn in a hurry with a black star in my hand. It really has no use for me now, so I'll just keep it as a trophy or whatever. After all, the real work starts now. Brother Augur, still with me? Yes. Can you please help me review the date from the white file and the date from the black star file? Both the sealing enchantment from the black star and the absorption enchantment from the white file were analyzed. What kind of an item you want to use on them? Oh, a soul gem. Are you trying to create another unbreakable soul gem? No, that makes no sense. Oh, foo-foo. So even you can be ignorant sometimes? I am purely interested in what new ideas can an otherworlder like yourself can come up with. Haha, you can't just admit it, can you? The augur didn't replay and seemed to be inwardly cringing at me. Fine. My project right now is called the Magicka Reactor. By using part of the enchantment from the white file, that one that absorbs pure magicka from heaven and earth to convert it later into matter. I only took the absorption part, as you know. The other thing I needed was a material that was able enough to store magicka, and nothing can do that except a soul gem. 50 points for Gryffindor. I mean, you were right. Anyway, I wasn't sure how will the soul gem react at first, so I needed an insurance, and that was a way to seal the energies inside a soul gem, which you kindly provided when we were at Azure Star. What we lack are some dwarven metal wires, which I already asked Wulfer to make. We will get to do her sweat research right away. A Magicka reactor. Huh? That seems promising. Oh, I know, right? To be able to absorb magicka and store it from anywhere. This is exactly the function of the human flesh and how it provides the astral body and the soul with energies. It is indeed promising. Sure, there will be no need to kill any creatures and people to trap their souls anymore. I dare to say that if we succeeded, then the age of soul trapping is coming to an end. I couldn't help but make an evil laugh, even though I was doing something not evil. This will be epic. Winter is over, but it is still snow in Winterhold. A few weeks have passed since I started my damnable research. Julliner and Wulfer have given up on me and took Nefertiti away. The last thing I heard was that they got invited by Alina to the Moonblade clan. I also receive an invitation, but I will go join them once I'm done. More or less, I am done. Most of the prototypes are working, but they overheat and explode. I need a material to prevent the soul gem from overheating, and I sent a ship to Solstheim to get such a thing. There is a material that was called the Stalrim that can only be mined from there, but it was expensive. The only way was to hire some people from the Skull, a very old and respected hidden clan that has good relations with the Firemans. I hope that everything goes smoothly, but Ongium got a bit late. He sent a word that there are some troubles in Solstheim, and it is very hard to find the material we need. The Stalrim is a rare form of enchanted ice found only on the island on Solstheim. Throughout history, it has served various uses. Originally, it was used in the burial rituals of ancient Nords. The deceased would be encased in the material as a form of protection, a privilege that was typically reserved for Nordic individuals. It has also served as a crafting material, and, with the proper tools and techniques, can be used to create weapons, armor, clothing, and even jewelry. Stalrim armor, and sometimes called ice armor, can be light, medium, or heavy in weight. It is very protective and is often made with steel or quicksilver. Due to its innate properties, frost enchantments placed on items made of Stalrim are more potent, which will serve me very well in fighting the overheating problem in the Magicka reactor. Also, in its raw form, it can be used as an alchemical ingredient that induces paralysis and inflicts frost damage. Stalrim is often described as being hard as iron and impossible to break by conventional means. The only known way to mine it is with an ancient Nordic pickaxe, made from superior craftsmanship. It has been described as a rigid, blue-white crystalline metal, faceted yet smooth and unnaturally cold to touch. Working with Stahlrum is much like ebony smithing and can only be performed by a skilled blacksmith. This all made my life go a few times harder. The Magicar Reactor project is the hope of Winterhold and the Dare Dragon Company. It will be a new source of energy that can probably be better and cleaner than anything the modern civilization of Earth came up with. But good research time can't go smoothly unhindered. This morning, I received some terrible news. Alina, Julliner, Wolfer, and Nefertiti, four of the most important people in my life, have all disappeared. Chapter 180, The Snake's Denver. John's POV. My best friend went missing. My two girls went missing. My cat went missing. Four of the most important people in my life went missing while I was tinkering with some tools to create a thing that should be able to secure a good future for those people I care about. And then things got messed up when I was not paying attention. Well, this made me get too much frustrated and called all the people I have around. With hasty preparation, I raised the alertness in Winterhold to the max. I probably seemed like some tyrant when I overstepped my authority, but I tried not to lose much of my sense. Luckily, Narina was there for me. For my important family to go missing, I can't ignore the possibility of it being because of me. Was I too careless? For the first time, my house was so empty and boring. Without Joel and Nefertiti around, it was not my home anymore. Even when I sat in my office, I felt too lonely without Wolfer coming over to drink after work. And God knows how much I missed Alina. If this was because of me, if someone was targeting my people to get to me, it won't end well. It will be ugly, too ugly that I will bring hell down with me. I couldn't sit still anymore. As my mood went stormy, Winterhold got affected by it. I now have become the ruler of these people, even though nothing is official. Their fates are tied to my decisions. I can't get carried away. That night, I gathered all the members of Team Zero, the personal guards, and the intelligence agents at my company. We roamed the streets in silence and paid a visit to every spy that got sent by all the powers around and started interrogating them. It was a night full of muffled screams and spilled blood under the basement of the bathhouse. No one knew what happened to my family, as the news about them were not that important in the eyes of the big powers. Still, they had to die. I even killed the Stormcloak and the Imperial spies, personally. I never thought I would dig a mass grave in my life, but that was the price of power. I dug it with my hands. The last thing I had to do was to leave the matters to the new management team I assembled during the last few weeks. They will keep the ship floating just fine. Lastly, I asked Narina to watch over Winterhold for me, and even went as far as going to Archmage Salvozarin and asked him to assist Winterhold if it happened to be under any attack. Luckily, I was accepted. The last thing I needed to do was to travel alone to the Moonblade territory. It was the last place they were seen at, and I was welcome there. I geared up and rode a flame Atronak hawk to the west. A few weeks ago, the Moonblade clan, Alina Moonblade, the Crimson Moon, and the Child of Kine, the most prized daughter of the Moonblade clan, returned to her home, following her father Sigurd. Lady Alina is back. Lady Alina? By the gods, it has been half a year. The clansmen and the other people who lived here were all excited to hear of Alina, the popular girl who left the clan to find strong mages in Winterhold, leaving behind only a small note. In their eyes, Alina has only grown more beautiful in this half year. The Crimson Girl who plays with magic seemed to have soared higher in the sky, on a flame Atronak hawk this time. The Moonblade territory was on the mountains in the west of Winterhold, right in the south of Dawnstar Town. It had a big fort and a village around it. They could be reached by following a very narrow and steep pass up the mountain, but there were some tunnels and caves that weren't revealed to anyone, apart from flying with an Atronak, of course. Alina gracefully landed in front of the town that had more inhabitants than the one of the Fire Main. As a Moonblade, she was seen as a nobility, even though she was the most important character in the clan after the Patriarch, which made her appearance to be met with a lot of cheers. Across the town, the main house was there. an old and towering castle built to withstand all cold and wind. This was what Alina knew as home when she was young and the hell incarnate when she grew up. Well, another day at the Snake's Den. The Snake's Den, the name Alina calls the fort with, is where all her uncles and cousins live and where she got tortured because of her different eye color after birth. She may have managed to change the opinion around herself lately by getting close to the people and making friendships and relations the way Hilda taught her, but there were always those people who hated her because she was a hindrance in their way. Such people were watching her arrival from a window in the castle. Flying? The bloody eyes sure got arrogant. "Kaya," father said to go and welcome her. "Oh, it's you, Elsa? Fine, I'll be coming." During Alina's approach to the fort, two girls emerged from the front door, one with an obviously fake smile and the other with a disdainful face. "Welcome home, Alina. Kaya and Elsa, it has been a while." "Indeed it is." Elsa acted as friendly as possible to Alina. The reason was known as Elsa was to be wed to Gunmar's son of Njord Firemane. A word from Alina can destroy Elsa's happy life. "Why are you back?" Kaya, the younger sister, on the other hand, was openly hostile. "Oh, little Kaya, I had to return at some point." Nurina smiled and looked at Kaya sharply. She thought, "Come at me, bitch. I heard some talk that you found a master in Winterhold and didn't even manage to be her best apprentice, even though Uncle Ornulf went out of his way and provided support for you." Alina was unfazed and only smiled. "What was his name? The guy who beat you?" "John Dare. I heard he is a bastard rat from Riften. Not much of a genius mage now, are you?" Alina sneered in her head. "That's all you got about Senior John?" She said, "Huh, never heard about him being adopted by Archwizard Nurina Arin and the Firemans. What? Or about him being the new trading partner for our wineries. His company controls the whole hold, and he even promised us a shipment of frost honey. You sure must have heard the news, right?" These events were really fresh and should only be announced today. Yet Alina shamelessly took a chance and used the ignorance of the crowd to diss at Kaya. TSK, Kaya. I'm disappointed. If these words of yours reach Senior John, our partnership will be in a bad situation and we will lose a lot of faces. Maybe next time before you hurt our family's interests, you should watch your goddamn mouth." Alina said what she prepared to say, leaving both sisters behind. At that time, the Moonblade convoy led by Sigurd caught up to Alina, who went ahead. "Elsa and Kaya, you are here to greet your sister?" Sigurd hurried up when he saw Alina being faced with the two sisters. "Welcome back, uncle. Indeed, we were here to greet Alina." How nice of you girls." "Alina, you are coming?" "Yes, father. Just was done with the trash, talking anyway." Alina didn't seem to care anymore, and just walked past the two sisters with her magic movement spell. Her movements were fast and graceful like a fairy. Sigurd was taken aback by Alina's words and looked at the two sisters who were smiling as if nothing was said. This girl, did she catch on some bad habits from that John Rat's kid? And it seemed like not all water is clear. Sigurd thought to himself, as he wasn't used to seeing Alina being carefree like that. Her action reminded him of a father and son pair who could get on his nerve just by occupying a material form in existence. After he followed his daughter into their home, the two girls remained outside. Elsa Moonblade was silent while Kaya was grumbling with anger. "Did you hear what she said? Would she dare to put me into trouble? That evil witch." "Shut up, dear." Elsa spoke in a disdainful tone. Elsa, what are you saying? Will you stand and watch her do whatever she likes to me?" "She would do no such a thing. Are you an idiot or whatever?" The news about the Thane of Winterhold is something that only a handful few are aware of, and someone like you will never be informed about his existence. There is no way she can prove that you heard of him, let alone badmouth him. You dumb fool. She knows that too damn well, too. But she was just screwing around with you? You really have no sense for such thing, sister. Kaya fell silent, and Elsa shook her head helplessly. That bitch. Who does she think herself? Kaya made a very ugly face. Elsa looked at her younger sister and wondered if she would ever do well when she is not around. She is the daughter of the patriarch. She can screw around as much as she likes. She also managed to win a lot of people and family members. Do you think that father is having an easy time to deal with her? Elsa stated some facts and walked ahead while thinking. Alina, poor child. You've run a mouth, huh? Then let's see how much can you run your mouth. Chapter 181. Stirring the Muddy Waters. Days passed since Alina returned to her clan, and she was always either in meditation or training her magic and sword. The training style of the Moonblades, as well as their martial tradition and sword dances, were things that were passed down through generations until it reached this age. These traditions hailed from a race that came to invade Tamriel once back during the First Era 2703. That race was known as the Tsiesi and, pronounced Tsiesi or Seichi, that could be described as the Serpent Folk. After they got defeated at the hands of King Reman Cyrodiil, some escaped, and some stayed founding the Dragon Guard, the modern-day Blades. Some, however, fled and got mixed with the locals, which led later to the appearance of the half-Nords half-Akavir, the modern-day Moonblades. The Moonblade possess some two very powerful innate abilities, which are the Snake Blood, that gives them weird abilities regarding poisons, which immunity is just the start of it, and the Moon Eyes, which is a very enhanced eyesight ability that could do wonders. On top of all the Moonblades, Alina was the one with the strongest bloodline ability. Her eyes were crimson red and didn't only grant her sight, but also foresight. She can tell lies, predict possibilities of the future, see other places. Sometimes she can see places she was not in. Her eye powers were always high-wire and hard to deal with. The part of telling lies and truths was the easiest part, and it made her life both easier and harder. She wasn't really happy with the powers that got her alienated by her peers in childhood and the accident from a month ago when she awakened her bloodline to its fullest. Now, her eyes have a stronger power as she can put powerful people into a state of fear just by looking at her eyes, a power that made her life even more complicated. Well, there was John, someone who she met and was a bit arrogant with. He also was cold to her. Even though they could get along as senior and junior, she was ever so grateful for him when he could withstand her dreadful power and even shut it down. The crazy thing is he was not affected by a single strand of her power. She couldn't tell if he was telling the truth or lying. She couldn't scry or predict him or even intimidate him with her lately acquired eye power. More to that, when he saw her without a veil for the first time, he became head over heels for her. Becoming ordinary in the eyes of someone after being seen as either a freak child or an untouchable genius was all good and fine to her. And to be surrounded with people whose power are equal and even stronger than her was a good experience in her opinion. Aside from John, Julliner, and Wolfer, as well as the Black Cat Nefertiti, can all be considered misfits in society for their talents alone. Adding her to the punch meant she won't be alone in this world. The thing that was more terrifying was John, when he uses the Thursday. Alina gave up on competing with him in this part, even though it hurt her pride a bit, but she was completely outmatched. She can only shout 2 words for now, and may faint afterward. All in all, Alina was in a good mood now that she has some time to think about the past 7 months. There were many experiences that changed the behavior of that 17-year-old lass. Her behavior was a bit daring. She would cross anyone and trade insults, now unlike her old self when she was just a solemn girl who uses her power to prove right from wrong. The concept of having fun while doing things were all things she picked up from John. Finishing up her meditation, which was totally fruitless due to her mind being in Winterhold, Alina walked down from the backyard of the fort. It was apart from the old structure that was built in the Akaviri style. She would sit in one of those pavilions that oversaw the northern sea and the areas around it. She could clearly see the haunted tower that was on the hill covering Dawnstar, and she also could see Frostflow Lighthouse. During her thoughtless staring into space, footsteps came from behind her. Our Alina is still lost in her thoughts. You have been here since the morning. Alina turned around and saw a familiar face. Brenda, where have you been? I was on a mission with Evan. Come here, let me have a look at you. Alina and Brenda exchange hugs. Brenda Moonblade, and previously Brenda Firemane, is the eldest daughter of Forsetti, who got married to the Evan Moonblade. She is a fairly tall, Nord woman with strong arms and loves to wear armors. Back in the day, she was fond of Hilda and can be considered an elder sister to Alina. Alina talked to Brenda and started telling her about the long-lost cousin of hers, as well as all the events that happened. John's existence was revealed to the firemen's main family in a small circle of the Moonblades. It made Brenda ecstatic to hear stories about her cousin. By the way, I heard some of the servants talking about you going head-to-head with Kaya. Everything all right? Humph. She is 100 years too early to affront the most beautiful young lady in Tamriel. Alina started acting all haughty and indifferent, which made Brenda lag for a second before falling into laughter. What's all that about? Haha, I don't know. Somehow, that way works with those kinds of people. True, but beware of Elsa. From what I know, she wouldn't let you off after what you have done to Kaya. She is welcome any time. I know she will never set still until she sees me getting away from her brother's path. I know, you have done a good job until now. It would be nice if I don't want to, tell your husband to quit lazing around and step up for it. I am not going to become the matriarch. Here you go again. Brenda held her head from the headache this topic brings to her. There were 3 candidates for the family leadership positions. The elders picked Alina, Evan, and Igor Moonblade as the most talented 3 which the family has to pick from. The strongest candidate was Alina, who managed to gain a strong popularity and has a lot of connection with the other clans. Evan Moonblade was a prodigy, but he was too lazy to do anything. And finally, Igor Moonblade, brother of Elsa and Kaya, is a talented person, but he was never on the good side of Alina. The hate that remained inside the Moonblades towards Alina was mainly because of Igor's faction. Alina wasn't interested in being the matriarch, but her late apprenticeship to Archwizard Nurina and achievements in the rooting the blood sales outside of the hold, as well as establishing a connection with John Dare, all of that made her position soar higher and higher. She would argue that none of these were anything worthy of being called achievements, but they were really a major change to the big picture in front of the elders. Brenda started stating these facts to Alina, who was not accepting any of them. Anyway, I don't care, but a lot of people don't want to see Igor in the seat of the patriarch. I will talk to Evan again, but no promises. Please, I don't want to take part in any of this too. Either marrying in the firemen's or living with my master in Winterhold are far better options. I am doubting your reasons, but something must have made marriage a good option for you, isn't it? I'll have to look into that. Blah, I was just saying. Anyway, just watch out for Elsa these days. She might be brewing some troubles for you. What are you thinking of, lass? Senior John once said something about how to feint and make strange movements to force your enemies to halt back whatever they are planning. Enemies? You sure are going all out this time? Huh? Come on, I won't do anything harmful. Can I send a messenger to Winterhold? Not today. Tomorrow will be fine. But you need to take permission first. Never mind. I will ask Father to help me with it. In public? Well, that's the point. And what will you do? Just wait and see. That evening in the dining hall of the clan, Alina requested to send a message to her friends in Winterhold to invite them to visit and form a good relationship with her clan. These friends were John, Jellinar, and Wolfer. The names were known to be the top 3 executives of the Dare Dragon Group, which indeed caused a stir in the muddy waters in the Moonblades. It was a timely invitation to make some good bonds with the new rising force in Winterhold. It indeed forced Elsa to halt her mischievous plan against Alina, but who knows for how long. Chapter 182, the Disappearance. Alina was expecting John to be there, but it was only Jellinar and Wolfer with the overboss cat, Nefertiti, with a word that John will come a week from now. A welcoming party was thrown to welcome the guests. Some employees and guard from the Dare Dragon Group followed Wolfer and Joel transporting gift from the company and also to negotiate about business. This was a busy event that forced the dirty little schemisters to behave until Alina leaves back to the college. Friends, huh? This is sure unexpected. Kaya was sitting next to her sister while grumbling about the matter. Elsa, on the other hand, was silent. In her mind, this only halted her plan a little. Still, something was on her nerve. The black cat that was eating from her own plate on the table across the room was staring at her as if they were some sort of enemies. The half-dark elven girl who was sitting beside Alina, also noticed and kept looking at Elsa from time to time. Elsa didn't feel comfortable, as if she was seen through. Her instincts told her to never mess with those cat and girl pair. Wolfer was conversing with one of the Moonblade elders, and it seemed that the matter shifted from business to blacksmithing. The mood was too harmonious for someone with ill intentions to stay, and so some people have already withdrawn after failing to establish connections with the people from the Dare Dragon group, for they were already deeply affiliated with Elena. Elsa and Kaya also walked away and stood at the wall of the castle watching the north. "How will it go, sister? Will we be able to?" Kaya asked. "Not as simple as I thought it would be. I was a fool to underestimate the Firemane's judging of characters." What do you mean?" "The people from the Dare Dragon, whatever, they were coming with an agenda from the beginning. Elena made it sound like she was inviting some friends to come and play, but not a fully armed group and businessmen. All those who were not planning ahead and acted carelessly while trying to make some connections are the people from our side. Alina figured them out." "Wait, she was aiming for that. But Igor won't. Speaking of which, where's our foolish big brother?" "Hunting, probably. Or maybe whoring in Dawnstar." Kaya fell silent, as she was already aware of what was in her sister's mind. Igor is not a bad swordsman and could practice the ancient martial tradition known as aura. He could pass the minimum requirements of being a candidate, unlike Alina, who already broke the record when it comes to talent. More to that, a rumor was going around lately that Elena and John Dare has developed some sort of relationship. Igor's chance of inheriting the leader's seat was as good as gone now. Following such a useless person was too frustrating for a person like Elsa, who would only play for the win. Still, she won't admit defeat easily. If she won't take the win, she would destroy the whole game. Elsa walked away, preparing her next scheme. The next day and the day after went well. Wolfer was invited for the forge by its master, and the two girls, Alina and Joel, toured the place together. The one in the dull mood this time was Nefertiti. As a mage sentry cat, her senses were abnormal, and by following John around the past year, she could sense even the shadow itself. After transforming into her beast mode, not only can she speak simple words, but she can even kill a dozen armed men and hide herself in places even John needed to use special ways of magic to find her. In truth, Nefertiti was already in an unknown path of a magical evolution to the point that her keen could read the body language of any being. All this, and that made Nefertiti very wary of some certain individuals. If not for John's strict training, she would have gone all wild and killed that strange girl from yesterday. As strange as it seemed, one girl was carrying a very evil aura that made Nefertiti want to throw up. It wasn't something that a human would have, as Nefertiti was sure this girl came across something very evil, but she didn't care too much. In the end, she's a cat, and she shouldn't alert humans. She can hunt and laze around, but the point of her action is to remain unseen. This is the only iron rule that John cared about. Other than that, she can just laze around. So after warning Jelena about the girl, Nefertiti decided to stay aside. The next day, Elsa went out with some guards and returned once again. Nefertiti was watching and felt more suspicious. The aura around the girl meant that she came across something evil. Nefertiti decided to stay close to her friends just in case. In the Moonblade Hall, Elsa made some serious reports. The Dawnstar nightmare problem started to take a toll on the people, and it may be the work of some evil. Also, a girl was about to kill herself after seeing a very disturbing dream that awakened some old, disturbing memories. It seems we have ignored that matter for too long indeed. Tell us, Elsa, how do you assess the situation? Sigurd and the other elders questioned Elsa. I'm not sure about the matter. I'm only knowledgeable about the destruction magic, but that thing seemed to be beyond what I know. So you can't tell if it is a curse or an evil creature that is causing the trouble. I'm afraid not, but a curse is too far-fetched. Life is normal in Dawnstar, and people forget about the nightmares just by the next day, but some of them started to look pale and exhausted from stress. If it was a curse, then it would have affected the people who visit the town too, not only its residents. Also, if we're talking about an evil creature or an evil magic user, then someone must have noticed, and no one did at all. I spoke with Medina, the Breton court wizard of Jarl Skald, and she pointed me at that tower we see when we stand on the northern wall, the one overseeing Dawnstar. Oh, I see. It was an old place of monks of some sort. One of the elders followed Elsa's report. What happened to those monks? Patriarch Sigurd asked. Orcish pirates invaded their tower long ago. No one of them survived that day, and the place was avoided since then. I see. So we are facing the tormented souls of the dead monks. Another elder came to a conclusion, and the others agreed with him. So, we should send some of our monks and clerics. Sigurd questioned Elsa. Of course, Patriarch, but shouldn't we hire someone with knowledge around curses? I heard there is a mage who got dismissed from the College of Winterhold, but he is very knowledgeable about evil souls. He now lives in Mordhau. Hiring him would be much of a help. No need. Sigurd dismissed her idea. We have Elena, who is an apprentice of an archwizard. This should be simple for her, right? Sigurd's suggestion was faced with smiles from the elders. They all were very pleased with Elena. Elsa, on the other hand, took her leave and walked out, her lips curved up as she walked away alone. Back to the present, John's POV. So, you're telling me that Elena agreed to go, then Joel and Wolf decided to go with her. I was standing in the middle of the Moonblades Hall, where all of them gathered around me. In front of me, sitting on his seat while resting his head on one hand, Patriarch Sigurd nodded silently. The man, who looked like a 30-years-old man, seemed to have aged up all of a sudden. I was told that he didn't eat anything for 2 days, and they barely stopped him from going into the tower over Dawnstar. Upon further investigation those last couple of days, the Moonblade discovered that this place was avoided by the locals because no one ever left this place alive after the pirate accident. They now surrounded the place and are looking for a way to figure out the place. They even started asking Grandma Jenna for help and sent a report to Nurina. I see now. So that was it. I didn't expect things to turn that way. I know where my friends are, but if I told these people here, they will get freaked out and lose all hope. The cursed tower was Nightcaller Temple, a place where the cult of Vermina used to live. Vermina the Dreamweaver is one of the 17 Daedric princes. Her sphere of influence includes nightmares, psychological terror and torment, dreams, bringing evil omens, and stealing memories. Vermina mostly takes the form of a female mage, and she is one of demonic Daedric princes. Trying not to panic as much as possible, I led to myself to a place where I was told that Elena liked to stay in. It was an ancient Akaviri pavilion that overlooked the northern coast. I gave the Moonblades and the men from my company one order. Find a dark elven priest of Mara that goes by Arander. Search for him in every city, town, and village. Whoever finds him must tell him to come and stop the miasma. If he ever refused or resisted, bring him with force. The order was passed, and the men returned 3 days later. We all waited in front of Nightcaller Temple. Chapter 183, Nightcaller Temple. John Hild, I would have wished to meet in some better circumstances. I am your cousin Brenda, and this is my husband Evan. Fancy seeing you too, Evan Brenda. I was greeted by a couple of Moonblade man and a Firemane woman. I have a blood relative here too, it seems. Are you sure that Dark Elf is essential to save Alina and your friends? You held us from going in long enough. Evan asked me. I know, but believe me, there is no other way. I spoke with a heavy heart. We were standing in front of Nightcaller Temple and were waiting for the arrival of the former cultist of Vermina, Arander. Patriarch Sigurd was having it hard, but he managed to recover somehow, and he was standing alone also waiting. He entrusted me with leading the rescue operation and making the tough calls. Many questioned that decision, but were met with Sigurd's deadly glare. Also, things were about to get out of hand when some people wanted to brag in against my orders. I had strong reasons to hold everyone back. I also didn't reveal anything for the sake of keeping things in order. Why is that? Simple. Vermina is nasty to deal with even for a Daedric prince. Even a scourge like Molag Bal, the Daedric prince of torture, sometimes seeks help from Vermina when it comes to matters regarding vampirism. And there is Quagmire, the realm of Vermina that was described as the most horrible realm where one's own nightmares and fears manifest into the most hideous form possible. Even though it is a place of great horror, yet it is the most frequent place that mortals visit in oblivion. The first reason is that Vermina pulls the sleeping people by their nightmares to torture them as she sees fit. However, the second reason is what worries me the most. It was said that Quagmire and the mortal world Mundus are really close, and the places where Vermina's artifacts exist in Mundus are places where the effects of Quagmire manifest. I don't know to what extent, but the nightmares problem of Dawnstar are related to it. Now, in Nightcaller Temple, I met with the escort that arrived from Dragonbridge town. Following them was a Dunmare man in the yellow monk's robe. This was Brother Arander. From the looks of it, he didn't seem to have shown any resistance, so I guess it won't be hard to convince him to work with us. Brother Arander, we are sorry to bring you here on such a short notice. My name is John Dare. Arander was looking around and seemed a bit desperate for some reason. Please, good lord, I have left that kind of life behind. I have cut ties with Vermina and Nightcaller Temple ages ago. Please, spar. We are not intending to interfere with your past. The matter is that we know about the miasma. Some of ours went into the temple to investigate the matter on their own, but they never came out for 4 days. Mara's mercy. I don't know what to say. Please, save your condolences. I am very well aware of what's in there. I approached him and whispered, I am talking about the skull. Arander's eyes were about to jump out of his head. He looked at me and started shivering. I also know about what happened back in the day when you fled to save your own hide. I'm not judging you because no one would want to kill themselves instead of struggling to survive, and you did. Congratulations, but this place is dangerous. I forced myself to calm the mare down and explain the situation. I understand it is indeed true that the Skull of Corruption is what activated the miasma that comes from the Nightcaller Temple, that building that people call Tower of the Dawn, but it was deserted for quite a long time before Nightcaller Temple was established inside. When the temple was active, the priests would rarely be seen in Dawnstar. They preferred to live a solitary existence. The temple's been abandoned for decades now. The first thing we need to do is to establish a shrine of Mara inside the tower's entry hall. I've already taken care of this part. The shrine is here, and we can install it once we start moving in. Young lord, I think I shouldn't ask more as you already know this much about me anyway. Arander wanted to ask about something, but good thing that he read the mood. I really was about to drag him in. After everything became ready, Arander, Patriarch Sigurd, and I were the ones who were absolutely going in. Evan Moonblade tried to come in, but Sigurd appointed him in charge of the Moonblades out of the blue. It almost caused a commotion, but a glare from Patriarch Sigurd was enough to silence everyone. After that, we entered the tower with not a single word. The three of us were quiet and in a heavy mood. The reason why I brought Arander was that because he's a priest of Mara and a former cultist of Vermina. Vermina may be strong, but he is the only one who can challenge her authority in this place. Years ago, this temple was raided by an orc war party seeking revenge. They were being plagued by nightmares, just like the people of Dawnstar. Arander started talking about the place. And the orcs were not successful as the priests knew they could never defeat the orcs, so the priests released what they call the miasma, putting everyone to sleep. It was created by the priests for their rituals. It's a gas that places the affected in a deep sleep. Because the rituals would last for months or even years, the miasma was designed to slow down the aging process. Arander started talking about the miasma and the priesthood of Vermina, who were really skillful with alchemy. Anyway, we kept going down as our destination was the deepest part of the temple. Patriarch Sigurd and I were searching every room we pass on for traces of Alina and the rest. As we reached halfway through, we came across a path blocked by a barrier. Damn it! The priests must have activated this barrier when the miasma was released. Erander said as he looked depressed. The one who was more shocked was Sigurd. What does that mean? If there was that barrier, then how can Alina go past it? He raised a good point. Erander thought for a while and spoke. I think they were invited inside. Invited? By who? Sigurd started to run out of patience. Lord John, I think we should keep our friend here in the dark anymore. Erander saved his own hide and passed the ball to me. Now I was the one who was being glared at by Sigurd. Sigh. I didn't think it would come to this, but I think you should sit down, Patriarch Sigurd. What or who I think that we are up against is Vermina. I started explaining the situation hastily to Patriarch Sigurd, whose face became paler and paler the more I spoke. After saying what I had to say, I waited if he had any questions, but he seemed to have calmed down. I knew that he was on the verge of going berserk any time, but I needed to find a way to solve the problem faster. Erander, I suppose you know of a way to bypass the barrier. Erander started thinking, then nodded. Actually, I wonder. There may be a way to bypass the barrier, but I must check their library and confirm it can be done. I still have my key to the library. Erander led the way, and Sigurd and I followed. I got on alert as soon as we opened the library. Sigurd saw that and also prepared. As we entered the library, there were people waiting for us, the cultists and the orcs that got affected by the miasma many years ago, awoke from their coma, and attacked us like mad zombies. We counterattacked and killed them on the spot. Following Erander's guidance, we started looking for a book called the Dreamstride. After finding it and confirming a way to bypass the barrier, we started to look for a potion called Vermina's Torpor, a potion that can grant an ability with the name of the Dreamstride. Basically, it is a teleportation ability using places one saw in a dreams, like when you sleep and dream of someplace, you wake up in it. Finding the torpor required that we go deeper into the temple, which meant we had to kill more of the priests of Vermina and the Orcish invaders. The scary thing about these people was not how they got preserved in a sleeping state all these years, but how they looked life after they woke up. The miasma indeed accelerates aging, but it also changed the color of their eyes to one of deep darkness. There was no white in their eyes, as if their eyes reflected the void itself. Erander explained that as Vermina waking up those guardians to try and block us from going deeper. Sigurd questioned the reason, and he understood that the priest indeed that it was thanks to Mara's protection over Erander was that we didn't face whatever consequences as those who came before us, and that includes Alina and the rest. After the search was over, we found not one, but 2 bottles of Vermina's Torpor. If I remember correctly, there was only one in the game, which made me wonder why. I'm relieved you discovered 2 bottles intact. This place looks as though it was ransacked by the orcs. So, I've taken us this far, but you need to guide us the rest of the way. Erander said as he looked at the 2 bottles with discomfort. Why don't you want a drink? Sigurd was wary of Erander, which made the later made a complicated face. He is a sworn priest of Mara now. He can't drink the torpor because it won't work on him, as it only works on the priests of Vermina or the unaffiliated. Isn't that right? I explained the situation as I remembered how it was. Is indeed the case. One of you 2 has to drink it. I understand your hesitation, but I promise you that it works. Erander said, following up to my words. Sigurd was very cooperative with me, as everything I said was coming to be true regarding the case of this place. With all said and done, I'm going to drink a bottle and open the way, FR, I said as I held the bottle. Wait, Sigurd interrupted me. I will be the one doing it, he said, and took the bottle from me. I was kind of taken aback, as it wasn't how it was supposed to go in my head. With all due respect, Patriarch, I am very sure in my ability to pass that hurdle. There is no need to... Boy, this is my daughter we are looking, and you are asking me to sit and watch. Sigurd aura became serious, and I was a bit threatened. But, no buts. I am not sure how this magical bottle will help us, but if something happened, your parents just got you back, and you have done well to make us reach it here, he said, and opened the bottle to drink it. Man, this is annoying. I wasn't in a good mood after these words, but Sigurd has already made his mind and looked at it. Irander was still nervous, but he started to assure Sigurd, I will watch over you as you slumber to ensure your safety. If I deduce anything is amiss, I will use my arts to bring you back. Otherwise, I am uncertain what will end your dream stride. All right, Dark Elf, but remember that this boy can chop you to 1,000 pieces if my daughter and I don't survive this. Sigurd said and drank the potion. His consciousness faded, and I held his body and laid him down. I was a bit worried, as this was a bit not how it went in the game. After a short while, Sigurd's body disappeared in a poof. Irander and I looked at each other and ran towards the place where we thought he should have appeared. Luckily, the barrier was removed as Sigurd was there huffing down and was about to collapse. I saw Wait. His state was not good. What happened? I rushed at him and asked. I know how to find Alina and your friends. Chapter 184. Into Quagmire 1. Wait, what? I know how to find Alina and your friends. Sigurd whispered closely to my ears. Sigurd's words meant that something has gone pretty much different than what I expected. The next words said by Sigurd made me understand that this is not the way things should have went anymore. From this point onward, I can only hope to save Alina and the rest on my own. At that time, Irander caught up to us. It worked. Mara be praised. You vanished after drinking the torpor and materialized on the other side. I have never seen anything quite like it. He started talking to the worn-out Sigurd that didn't even bother to reply. Irander, we can't waste time. I said to haste things up. Yes, Lord John. Let's go. Irander and I, followed by Sigurd, who walked on his own pace, arrived at the last chamber in the inner sanctum of the temple. There was a boss battle when two powerful priests of Vermina were awakened, and they were conscious to Irander as they were his old friends. After putting them to their final rest, Irander seemed heartbroken, but I didn't care about that. We still had work to do. Once we entered the last room, all three of us turned quiet. It was a circular room with an altar. On the altar was a staff, and it was covered by a powerful barrier. That staff was the most infamous skull of corruption. Sigurd looked around the room for any last hope, but he knew better. They're not in the tower anymore. Behold the skull of corruption, the source of Dawnstar's woes. We must destroy it. Irander walked ahead. Wait, Irander. My friends are nowhere to be seen. I said in a demanding tone. Irander looked at me with a complicated face. Lord John, I know you're worried, but please, destroying the skull is the best way to avenge. They are within Vermina's grasp now. You can't deal with Verm. Ugh. As Irander was explaining, I threw a small dagger to his chest. Sigurd came from the back and stabbed him too. I am sorry. Sigurd apologized to the dead Irander before laying his body on the ground. We looked at each other as we understood what we just have done. Killing an innocent man while he was doing good in the name of divine like Mara, this won't end well for either of us. Now what? I asked. We wait. It was indeed like that. When Sigurd entered the dream stride, Vermina revealed to him the place where Alina, Joel, Wolf, and Nefertiti were. They were swallowed to Quagmire, the realm of Vermina in oblivion outside the mortal plane Mundus. I don't know the details, but it seemed that any intruder to Nightcaller Temple gets swallowed by Vermina to Quagmire if they are not protected with the power of a divine. Luckily, both I and Sigurd wore our amulets of Talos. Interesting. A voice sounded in my head. The man was shown what he wanted to see, and you believed him. You knew of something. Oh. The voice was that of a young female. It was slow and quiet, but carried a lot of pressure and power. It was her. What do you wish for more than what you already have? Warning. The mind barrier is being weakened. I see. I want my friends, the one you took back. And what can you offer in return? The voice was strong, and it almost enchanted my mind, but I had some functional resistance working against it. That staff? I will take it too. I pointed at the skull of corruption inside its barrier. You want to take your friends and take my staff? Is that what mortals consider an offer? Oh, the voice seemed to be pressuring me even more. Do I really need to explain? I will have fun with the staff to my heart content. I replied at her, while trying to withstand the pressure to the best of my ability. Augur, do you hear me? I am busy here. Release the protection on some of the memories regarding conflict and destruction. Let's show her something good. Are you sure about that? Shadow? What do you want? Vermina is not a Deidre you'd want to offend. She has a very curious personality and would dig you inside out if we let the wrong memories slip. I will handle which memories we can allow out. Acknowledged. The Augur and Shadow started working together for some reason. Wait, you two are best buddies now. Whatever you do, don't lose focus. We will follow your pace and cover you up with the best memories when Vermina tries to read your mind. Okay, I'll leave you to it. I don't know what will those two do, but it is good to have some incorporeal friends when you need them. Back to Vermina. Interesting. I see its potential. Oh. Her voice echoed in my head once again. I am relieved that Shadow can operate hidden from a Daedric prince such as Vermina, but let's focus on her now. Fine, I allow you to claim the skull for your own. But as for your friends, why don't you get them out yourself? Oh, Vermina said something scary. I understand what she means, but to take them out, is she trying to drag me too? Use the torpor, come and I'll let you take them home. Warning, taking the torpor might threaten the mind barrier. I too suggest against it. This is bad. My head is now a conference room for weird voices. It's not fun at all. Augur, Shadow, let's keep the memory flow as what we already achieved. I'm not sure what will happen, but I will need your head to analyze whatever illusions I am about to see. Acknowledged. Good plan. The plan is now changed from guarding against Vermina is to coping with whatever she will throw at me. I grasped the torpor bottle in my hand and removed the lead. I was a bit worried, but I made my mind. Boy, let me do it. This you can't. But Sigurd had to ruin the mood. Seriously, old man, don't be a drama queen now. Don't be what? Look, I have dealt with FDVR before. You don't need to worry. Just watch over my body, will you? Old man Sigurd shook his head and sighed. You and your father are very much alike. I am more handsome, damn it. Couldn't help but retort. All right, boy, I wish you luck. If you serve, when you get out with Alina, I won't be stingy with you. Oh, seems like I am being promised something here. Well, that's the best encouragement he can give me, but I am sure he will come to regret it. I am off, cheers, and I put the bottle on my mouth and started drinking the not very tasty thing. You drank it. I am impressed, mortal. What makes you think I won't trap you too? Vermina said something scary. I don't know. I guess you're not Bothia to do something sinister like that. Am I not your champion candidate now? How daring, to sum me with the likes of Bothia. Yet you raise a point. Oh, to counter any dirty scheme Vermina would come up with, I had to mention Bothia, the lord of plots, deceiver of nations. Vermina and Bothia are arch-enemies, so this will make her change her mind. But you have to make it to my temple at the highest point you can see. I will be waiting, mortal. Oh. Vermina left me with those words, and the torpor kicked in. I felt like my head is light, then it all became dark. This was reckless. I know, right? The kid is really outdoing himself again. Oh, I can hear you little voices in my head. Is that what you need to know? Vermina state that she will wait for you to find your lost comrades in wherever she is taking us to, and then come to her temple. I guess we have a solid objective for once now. Wait, what do you mean us? I purposely replaced my astral extension with my original self. Damn, now I need to supply you with my magicka. Please don't be disheartened. Kid, that thing you said to Vermina just now about Bothia, that was one daring move. We have a chance thanks to it. For what I can tell, we are making it to Quagmire. That's my first time in Oblivion for me, guys. It won't be the last. So gloomy. Just know that Quagmire will try to deceive you by showing you what horrifies you the most. It will be mostly hallucination, but don't die to it. Hallucination and reality in Quagmire are the same thing. Yep, nothing new. Also, Vermina is always very curious. That's why she always looks into people's dreams. The reason she made the release of your friends possible is that she knows that some of your memories are sealed. We can resist her interference in Nirn, but in her domain, We will have to gradually leak out your horrors bit by bit. Don't worry, John Dare doesn't fear shit. One more thing, every few minutes, there will be a flash of lightning. This will mean that reality around you will shift. Text stated that monsters and horrifying scenes will overlap during those flashes, but I am curious about what fear will manifest with that mindset of yours. Me too as well. You are hitting it really well, guys. Should I open you some mead and bring some popcorn? Much appreciated. Shadow kept mocking me all the time, and the augur added salt on my wounds endlessly. All of that was happening as I was in some sort of unconscious state while dream-striding quagmire with two smart-ass passengers in my head. Once I started feeling myself again, I found myself in the least situation I predicted. It felt like a car, but everything was dark, and it felt like a tight place. After trying to move, I discovered I was tied up really tight. The fuck? Tied up from the very beginning? Also, when my vision adapted to darkness, I recognized the place, a large car trunk, and there were 3 people stuffed in there with me. One of them noticed my movements and spoke to me. Hey you're finally awake. You were trying to cross the checkpoint, right? Walked right into that police ambush, same as us, and that car thief over there. Wait, what? Chapter 185, Into Quagmire 2, A Drunk Realm of Oblivion. And I see that you guys don't vote and comment as much as you used to lately. The novel is dropping from top 20, and I feel that dark times are upon us. Vote to save the novel and comment to motivate the author. Hey you're finally awake. You were trying to cross the checkpoint, right? Walked right into that police ambush, same as us, and that car thief over there. Wait, what the hell is that? I looked around, and all sorts of shivers ran through my spine. Is this? Damn you, Storm Gang. Skyrim was fine until you showed up. The cops were nice and lazy. If they hadn't been for you, I could have stolen that car and be halfway to Hammerfell. No. This it can't be. A futuristic version of the game's opening. Damn, it went exactly as I know, with a slight difference due to the change of the time period. Once the car stopped, the trunk was opened, and we were pulled out inhumanely. The area we arrived at was right next to a river, and it seemed like an abandoned industrial area. Under the threat of guns, we were led as a group and got lined over the river in an unofficial gunfire execution, the type when the authorities would make it look like an accident. One of the prisoners tried to escape, but got shot anyway. A distinguished-looking prisoner was wearing special handcuffs that gave off some light. Ulfric Stormcloak. Some here in Helgen call you a hero, but a hero doesn't use a power like the Force to murder the governor and take over the city. You have started this gang war. Everything was taking a ridiculous turn to mimic the game. I couldn't understand how will a dragon appear, but just as I was wondering, something flashed through the sky. What on earth is that? The leader of the police, which I assume is Tullius, shouted out, and everyone looked up. I could finally see the things that were flying up there, and they took me by surprise. Okay, this is weird. What I saw was one dropship and 2 starfighters from Star Wars. Not sure what is going on here. They started attacking. It turned into complete mayhem, and I started escaping with one of the policemen. As we reached far enough, we arrived at a place where 2 stormtroopers killed a civilian and his son was watching. The policeman took his gun and shot the stormtroopers, saving the child. After securing the area, I followed the policeman into some alley, but suddenly we felt movement on the top floor, and we hid ourselves. What we saw after was indeed one of my nightmares. A strong presence was felt, and lo and behold, it is Darth Vader floating around and killing a policeman by choking him with the Force. So, Darth Vader is the antagonist? Makes sense. Until he left, we kept sneaking to a secure building. There we found some dead people. Among them were some stormtroopers, policemen, and gangsters. I got myself freed from the handcuffs and picked something really cool from the ground. A lightsaber. Oh, it's red. Does it mean a Sith is among the dead? So far, so weird. I guess I have to bear it with all the dreamlike events that will happen from now on. Anyway, we escaped the area under attack and saw the starfighters and the dropship fly away through the night sky. I was still shivering from the experience, but I managed to get a hang of myself. The lightning will strike soon. Just as I was about to calm and think, the augur sent a message. This meant that reality will shift once again. I really wasn't ready, but I didn't have a choice anyway. Lightning flashed, and the whole world felt weird. Next thing I know, I was in a street all alone. It was a quiet street that felt kind of old. The cars on the roadside were really old, as if it was the 50s. I didn't know what's going on, but this quagmire wasn't really something I can predict anymore. Like at first, it mixed Gotham City with Star Wars, and now. Bang, bang, tink, tink. And now I am hearing gunshots and metal colliding sound. I'm not sure how will this end up, but I had to hide myself first just in case. Also, when I tried to use magic or aura, it felt a bit weird. Magic was there, but the rules of magic was not what I am used to. It felt rather different, and I would injure myself if I used a spell too casually. So I decided to play it safe. Upon peeking on what is happening, I found that a gigantic metal thing, walking on 2 feet and has a humanoid appearance, escaping through the alleyway and being shot by people. It kind of resembles a transformer. Really? The worst of all movies? I guess that's a nightmare. There was no time to cringe, as the transformer was running towards my direction. Hey, watch out! One of the shooters saw me and shouted. It was a woman in some pretty revealing suit. I wasn't really waiting to get minced by the raging transformer, so I used the lightsaber and intercepted it by cutting one of its legs cleanly. The transformer fell, and I waved the lightsaber left and right, ending its misery. The woman in a suit with semi-exposed cleavage and a fedora hat came towards me carrying a rifle, followed by a large man carrying a big shotgun and another decent-looking woman carrying a Tommy gun. They looked like some gangsters from the 50s Italian mob. You handle yourself well. You could make for a decent gun brother. Oh boy, is that Ela? To my shocked expressions, Ela, the sniper, I guess, continued. An outsider, eh? Never heard of the companions? We are a family of good brothers and sister in honor, and we show up to solve problems if the cash is good enough. Yeah, thank you. You have a great potential. You can come and speak to Don Codlack if you wish to make some cash. Good luck. Wait, Codlack? The Harbinger? Is he a Don in the Sicilian Nordic Mafia now? Okay, now Transformers, and what? The Godfather. This quagmire realm is really getting me good. But I need to focus and not lose purpose. Excuse me, I'm looking for some friends of mine around here. I called for Ela, who was walking away. She turned around and nodded for me to carry on. Alina, Julliner, or Wolfer, they may have a black cat referred to as Nefertiti. The people in front of me looked at each other. We know Wolfer. How do you know him? The man asked. They do. Oh, we grew up together in Riffin's orphanage. I hope there's a thing like that. In the old town? That's right, Wolfer said he grew up there. The man said, Welcome then. A friend of Wolfer is a friend of ours. Ela said and invited me to go with them. That's great then, finally a clue. We arrived at a very fancy place with a lot of suited and booted people guarding the place. It was some sort of a bar where more suited and booted people hang around in. Come this way. I followed Ela and reached the back office, which was guarded by more big goons. Sitting behind a desk, an old man in a nice tuxedo and butler-like guy helping him dress well in front of a mirror. Ela approached the man with respect. I was stopped from approaching by the man, who seemed to be Farkas. Ela is the capo here. You can't go closer to Don Codlack. Makes sense or not? Anyway, Ela kissed the hand of Codlack, or specifically his ring, and whispered something for him. All right, Ela, you can take him. Also, make sure the cars are ready. The families are going to meet up in a few hours. I want you with me. Yes, Don Codlack. She walked towards me and guided me to another area where there were a lot of guns and heavy stuff. Wolfer, a friend, is visiting. Once she called, a Wolfer in some big suit appeared. It looks good on him, though. Who is that? You bastard. They all looked at me with hostility once Wolfer didn't recognize me. Oh, it must have been a long time. My name is John, Noreena's adopted son. Wolfer seemed shocked. Oh, he said as if he remembered something. I got adopted when she left the orphanage, so you may not remember me too well. No, I remember you. You seem familiar all of a sudden now. Oh, thank you. The atmosphere turned normal once again. Damn, if I could use magic, I would have hanged you all on the walls. How can I help you, John? Wolfer guided me to a chair and sat opposite to me. Well, you see, it's embarrassing, but I was at Helgen District, and some gunfight broke out between that storm gang and the cops. Things turned bad, and I lost contact with my friends. Was hoping you can help. Oh, you don't need to ask. I'll help you. Wolfer seemed as friendly as he used to be. It also seemed that he can remember me if I started reminding him of reality, but it will take me some time to be alone with him and not cause a scene. Hallucination and reality are the same thing in Quagmire, after all. Just as we were about to shake hands, gunshots sounded from the bar's direction. Everyone rushed toward the place, and then we found Don Codlack shot and lying on the ground dead. Sjor, the underboss of the companions, seemed to be shot too, but he survived and said that it was the Silverhand family. Why is the situation is turning into a gang war? All the companions around me became bloodthirsty and all swore vengeance for Don Codlack. John, I am sorry, but I need to take care of that business first. Even Wolfer seemed to be going to that fight too. I'll come with you then. Thank you. Wolfer seemed to be good to go, and I was handed a fancy gun from Wolfer. A lightsaber and a gun. This is taking a weird direction for some reason. Still, how many people in the world can say that they went to a mafia war in a drunk realm of oblivion before? I guess I'm making history here. Chapter 186, in a Quagmire 3, Human. Nothing is more insane than having every fantasy jumbled up together. Shadow and the Augur must be having fun replacing my fears with movie villains and remaking a futuristic setting for some messed up nightmare Skyrim. As annoying as it is, replacing my cockroach phobia with Transformers is genius. I hate both equally. Anyway, I finally found Wolf and rode a car with him to hunt down the Silverhand mob. Whether it made sense or not, I just had to work my way around it. The cars reached a place, and all the companions attacked a certain building, storming it with bullets. I wanted to say that I saw that one coming, but the Transformers joined hands with the Silverhand mob, and the situation was messy. Wolfer, on the other hand, was kicking absolute ass. I dare to say that this guy is a game-changer in open battles, whether in this nightmarish world or in reality. I was adapting the Magicka inside me to space around and shooting aimlessly while trying to finish quickly. I still had to evade injury and keep Wolfer safe. An injury in Quagmire is a real injury, no matter what. Once I was able to release enough aura, I empowered my body to the max and carried Wolfer away from the fight. Hey, John, what are you doing? Let go of me. Sorry, mate. There is something important you need to hear. Not now, damn you. I want to butcher Don Codlack killers. This guy was so immersed in the dream. I'll have to remind him somehow. Sviti. Your sister, Sviti. My sister. Yes, she went to college in Solitude, remember? Yes, I remember. Wolfer seemed to be remembering, but not fast enough. What about Jorna? I kept asking. Jorna? Wolfer wondered. Yes, 16 years old, fairly tall, red hair, maybe a bit to the pink, wide eyes, dazzling smile. Remember that day when we went into the pet store in Solitude and you met her? Wolfer turned silent for a full minute. Suddenly, he started looking around left and right frantically. John! His eyes landed on me and shouted in worry. Yep, you friendly neighborhood Dragonborn. You were taken in too. Nope, I came for you guys. Even Wolfer was panicked. Must have been tough for him to see weird nightmares of his own. Luckily, my nightmares can influence the ones around me. You idiot. You should have never come. The place is very dangerous. Calm down, you idiot. I get it. Everyone is trapped in here, and the nightmares are coming to life, blah, blah, blah. And why are you so calm? Wolf started shouting. Shut up. Who said I am calm? I just saw Darth Vader and Optimus Prime in the same nightmare. Do you know how nightmarish that is? And who knows how many movie villains are out there? I finally broke and shouted back. Wait, who are those? Never mind it anyway. We need to find a rest and get the hell out of here. You know a way out? Kinda. Let's just run from this place. The place was still a war zone between the Mafia and the Transformers, which made it rather weird. I can sneak out, as I can use some magic to block the stray bullets easily. John, this thing looks familiar. But as always, Wolf was curious about the gun in his hand. You saw it in my sketches before, figure it out. Oh, and what is that thing I am wearing? A suit. Looks good on you, though. Thanks. But to think I would dream of such a strange place. I hate to break it to you, but this is my nightmare we are in. I am using it to influence the area around by creating fake fears from fictional villains so that I can deal with stuff. Awesome. You too can see nightmares. This guy will never stop asking. I may be able to eat awesome and fart rainbows, but I too see nightmares. I had to endure the thousands of questions from my curious friend to satisfy his thirst for knowledge. Lightning will strike soon. Okay, brace yourself, I said as I held on to Wolf. What? Reality is shifting. Amaz. Lightning flashed, and the situation changed. Luckily, Wolfer was still there. Where is this? Wolfer, who was still holding a gun and dressed in his Mafia uniform, looked at the place around carefully. It was a forest. It kind of resembles the woods around Falkreath. Wolfer and I really found nothing threatening about this space, but I didn't want to stay in one place for too long, so we moved to high ground. While moving, I finally managed to figure out the magic law in Quagmire and regained most of my abilities to cast magic and regenerate magicka. Also, I started explaining the situation to Wolfer. Hey, what is that over there? Wolfer pointed at the sky, and I saw something flying through the gloomy clouds. It felt like people. I wasn't really seeing far, so after I used some aura to see further, I almost wanted to find Shadow and the Augur then slap them. I know they are replacing my fears with bizarre ideas from my past life, but they are taking it too far. Anyway, judging by the direction of the people who were flying, there was some town over there. We hasted our pace up until we reached the intended destination. It was a town made of dark brick houses with a weird shape. They didn't look like any past era, so I assumed this is some sort of countryside old town. After looking around, we found some people gathered around in a town square. In front of them, some 3 individuals were floating on air. 2 boys with broomsticks and a small helpless girl was being held in the air by magic while struggling to break free. The scene was a bit disturbing, but I wasn't concerned about a dream. Listen, you lowly muggles. If we find any more mutants in this town, there will be consequences. I saw the word muggle coming, but the word mutant was unexpected. Seems like the antagonists this time are the fanatic, pure-blooded wizards from Harry Potter stories. On the other hand, there are mutants too. The headache. It seems that wizards hunt mutants that hide among muggles. Good job, Shadow. I can now be in peace as I am pretty much unrelated to any of those. I thought so as I turned around and was about to leave with Wolfer after unleashing out auras to speed up. Hey you, stop where you are. A bolt of lightning landed in front of me, and the 2 wizards shouted while blocking my path. What is it? You are a mutant. Don't even think about moving a muscle. Mutant? This handsome me. I looked at Wolfer, who wasn't bewildered at all. He didn't seem to understand what's going on. The 2 wizards were still aiming their little wands at me. One of them moved its wand and intended to cast a spell on me. Crucio. Oops. I had to evade that one and counterattacked him with a lightning strike. The other was about to move, but bang. Wolfer took care of it. Nice one. Thank you. The townspeople who witnessed the exchange screamed and shouted. All of them ran to their homes. The only ones that remained was us, the 2 motionless wizards and the so-called mutant little girl that was being held by them. She was the only person we can ask anything. Excuse me, may we ask you some questions? The girl was scared, but I tried to appear as friendly as possible. Suddenly, and without any introductions, the girl ran to me and hugged my leg. Mister, thank you. She kept saying so while crying. Yes, I know. I was kind of annoyed, but Wolfer talked to the girl. Hello, what is that mutant thing they called us with? The girl looked at Wolfer and tilted her head. Mister, didn't you just use magic without wands or words? Oh, I see. So it was like that. Do you know anyone that goes by the name, Jelena or Alina? They're a black cat, known as Nefertiti too. You are asking about Big Sister Nefertiti? She is the leader of our sanctuary. Okay, hold on. I'll let Nefertiti go for a few days, and now she's making a group of mutants and planning to take over the world. That's my girl. I helped Nefertiti once back at Winterhold. I like to see her please. You are the woman who saved her? Wow. I will take you to her. Come, come. It seems that my title as Human is going around too damn well. The girl led us outside the town to some cave. On the way, I picked up a wand from the wizards we killed. Hell yeah, I'm doing this. I tried to use normal spells from by the wand, but it didn't really work. Fine, let's go by the book. Wingardium Leviosa. Hey, Wolf, look. I managed to carry a stone, but the wand snapped all of a sudden when I tried to move it around. Not that I was interested anyway. It was probably the laws of reality changing with some tricks to make it sound as if it is possible. As we entered the place we arrived to, we found a lot of small kids with strange features all around. Some of them had antlers and horns, some were walking through walls, some were doing strange magic with their hands. Anyway, at the end of the walk, we arrived at a place where a small, lowly girl was sitting on a big chair wearing some oversized clothes and acting like a thug. The lowly was black-haired with blue eyes. Boss Nefertiti, those two mutants saved me in town. They are Human. Nefertiti. Chapter 187. Into Quagmire 4. Nefertiti's human form and Lord Commander Joel. Human. Nefertiti. It was a very touching scene. That time when the cat you adopted recognizes you despite all the illusions and the deceptions of that Daedric realm. It showed that the bond between us cat and Human are not to be looked down on that easily. Nefertiti, who was in a Lolita form, jumped and hugged me. She seemed to be so lonely and depressed, but she got energetic all of a sudden when she saw me. Human, where were you? It was scary. Many dogos wanted to bite Meow and kept chasing Meow all over the place. Don't worry, T. Any dogo that dares to go after you again will get my thunder cookie. Don't be afraid anymore. The Lolita form of Nefertiti was a million times cuter than anything I know. She was a small, cute little thing, just as she used to be. I held her in front of me and observed how much did she change. Let's see, you are around 140 centimeters, and what are? Amazing. Are those cat ears on your head? And a tail? Yes. Meow found herself like that a while ago. I was being chased, and Nefertiti started telling a long story that somehow resembled Wolf's story, but she was able to not be deceived as he did. I guess that's 1 point for the feline kind over mankind. Still, she was so adorable. He long black hair and blue big eyes along with the cat ears and tail. I guess Quagmire can't be all that bad. What added more to that divine cuteness was the oversized black robe she wore. And no lowly Ichi allowed in my novel. FBI is watching. I tried to ask her about how she achieved this form, but it seemed to be the effect of Quagmire over the astral extension that gives her a beast form has taken it into another level of transformation. Nefertiti said she can go in her normal form, but the beast form is a bit hard to transform into. This sounds just like how I found the rules of Magica around Quagmire different than how it was in the mortal plane Mundus. When Nefertiti tried her beast form, it went completely wrong too. Still, I have never imagined that it may open the possibility to a cute humanoid girl with cat ears and a cat tail. It meant that the possibility was there from the start. I was thrilled, but the world around me gave me no time to stay in peace. Soon after, trouble came knocking on our door. Another little girl came running to Nefertiti and told her that the wizards discovered the location of their hiding spot. Human, this is bad. Bad humans come and want to fight Meow. I see. Do you have any fortifications for this cave? We need to wait for the next lightning to strike before we experience another nightmare. There, this can close the door. Nefertiti pointed at a lever on the wall, and I pulled it down, a sound of a door being closed. I went to the entrance of the cave and found a strange black door blocking the entrance. It felt familiar, but I really wanted for this Harry Potter world versus Marvel Mutants thing to end. As I was waiting, a strong force clashed with the other side of the door. The strong clashes kept going until the door got dramatically blown away and a lot of smoke came in. Dark figures emerged from the smoke. These were the Death Eaters. Wizards of evil holding their wands and looking at us like perverts slowly came in. They cleared the way for another person who seemed their leader, a bald tall guy with no nose. Yep, that's him, the man, the myth, the legend. Voldemort. And who might you be? Someone who shares a mutual friend with you. Is that so? I remember having all my good friends coming here with me. So that friend is Harry Potter. Oh, our dear little friend, Mr. Potter. Ahaha. Voldemort started laughing with the Death Eaters behind him. He then viciously looked at me and called, Nagini, kill. As he said that, a large snake came out of his sleeve. I see. So we were playing that game. Nefertiti, kill. Nefertiti heard my words, and the power of the link that Herson put between us assisted her to go into her beast form. The Nefertiti that appeared was much larger than the beast form she used to be. Joel told me that she is also growing in the beast form to the rate that will make her larger than me one day. And frankly, to compare the current Nefertiti with the snake of Voldemort, I say Nefertiti is going to kick ass. And as I thought, a paw attack was all she needed. Once the snake attacked, it got hit and bled too much. I know that Nagini's story is heartbreaking, but that's not real anyway. Voldemort couldn't stand this outrage and wave his wand at me. Avada Kedavra, Fuss Aroda, bitch. I knew that my magic is too overpowered, but the result was fascinating. The cave's entrance got cleared in an instant, just like that. Lightning will strike soon. Finally, I held Titi's tail and held Wolfer, then tied us with Magica to not get lost after the reality shifts. Lightning flashed, and we three appeared in another weird location. The place was as cold as Skyrim itself, and the surroundings were all white. We three looked at each other, and a lot of sounds came from the surroundings. Not long after, a presence appeared above us and came down with a shout. Bang! Wolfer, who was oddly silent, shot it down and double-checked. What is that? Nefertiti asked, looking at the enemy that attacked us. It looks like an orc, so burly and very green. Nefertiti and Wolf started questioning what is going on with that weird orc, but it seemed that this has gone weirder than before. For the Horde. Yes, that weird. Warcraft this time. Lord Commander, the orcs have climbed the wall. A voice sounded on the other side. Push them back. A strong female voice echoed, and a lot of black figures appeared around. Lord Commander? The wall. Men of the Watch. This is your time to be brave. I know that some of you are afraid, but the only time a man can be brave is when he is afraid. For the Watch. Ah, I see. It is Joel Snow now. The men of the Watch started rallying towards the area where the orcs came from, and a large battle broke out. Hey, we need to get here as fast as possible before any accident happens. Wolfer nodded and started breaking through the battle of men and orcs on the wall. We were surrounded by many trenches and enemies were at every corner. I tried to follow Joel, who was breaking the enemy forces alone. This girl can be stupidly brave sometimes. Hey, Joel. Lord Commander. She finally heard me and retreated. Make it quick, soldier. We need to talk. Does it look like the right time? TSK. She is more blinded than Wolfer. Fine. I'll push them back for you. I summoned forth a handful of undead and turned the tide of the battle in less than a minute. Once I finished pushing the orcs over the wall, I wasn't faced with any cheers or anything. I was being pointed at by the swords too. Everyone was glaring daggers at me. They don't like us, don't they? Wolfer asked. Yes, not sure why. The men of the Watch surrounded us, and Joel stood in the middle of them. You, evildoer, did you just summon the White Walkers? Huh? Me? Answer me, or I'll cut your head. Joel shouted, pointing her blade at me. I thought for a while and realized where did the misunderstanding come from. The undead really resemble the minions of the White Walkers, who are basically some liches. I thought of how to solve that situation and came to a nice idea. How dare you heretics call the guardians sent forth by the Lord of Light as some pesky white walkers. I said so, making some flame magic fly around me. Fire. Who are you? Joel asked with a pale face. Hee, I am the messenger of Stanith Baratheon, the true High King, the prince who was promised by the Lord of Light. Oh, it seemed that my lie has made an effect. And what message did Stanith Baratheon sent you with, Redman? Joel asked while pointing her blade away. I was hoping we can have a chat in private, Lord Commander. Joel nodded, and I was called to follow her. For some stupid reason, this is working. Chapter 188. In a Quagmire. 5. What Jon may actually fear. And I admit that I was lacking some plot, and I added Quagmire part so that I could distract you guys from the issue I was facing, but it is turning well. Anyway, this part won't take long, but never forget to support this novel. Also, if you're reading this on another site, because I have noticed, be sure to come read on Webnovel and find our small community where your comments can reach me. Enjoy Redheart. Joel led us to a post on that overlooked the northern frozen plains north of the wall. What can I call you with? John Dare. This is my friend Wolf, and that big cat is Nefertiti. I replied to Joel, who was acting all heroic and mighty. I am Jellinar, Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. What is that message your king sent you with? Ever heard of Solitude? Huh? Solitude, the capital of Skyrim. Year 4, E196. I don't understand what you are saying. I looked at Wolf, who shook his shoulders. Joel is not remembering as easy as Wolf or Nefertiti. We have met before, right? I asked. I don't really remember you. I winked for Wolf and Nefertiti to go away. Once they took their distance and I was left alone with Joel, I approached her and she put her hand on her blade. Remember that night you tried to kill, but ended up being beaten up and cornered into an alleyway? I drew closer to her while tried to remind her of that night, only to find her dagger on my throat. Such a thing didn't happen. Oh, how about that night when you went all crazy and tried to me in my room? Joel's face turned ugly and she glared at me. One more word and I'll. And what about that night beside the spring when we slept together? Joel seemed to have remembered something and her guard went down. Once that happened, I pressed on her body and pulled her to me, putting my lips on hers. It felt rather warm and soft in this bone-chilling weather, something one would yearn for all day long. Jellinar was tense, but she softened her attitude a second later. Guess it worked. I retreated my face behind and looked straight into her face, which looked ashen pale and blended with the background. Damn, I love you so much. The words came naturally when I looked at her. If you love me that much, then why are my clothes still on? Ha ha. I would take that offer any time but now. Of course, the TLK would cure memories. It is foretold in every legend so far. And TLK equals true love's kiss. What is that weird illusion I was in? Joel asked after realizing what had happened. I had to go through the explanation I went through a couple of times before, and Joel looked at me with a shocked face. You came into Oblivion to get me out? Her eyes were shooting beams of excitement. Well, I am happy that you are ignoring the fact that we are in Oblivion. I know, but you still came for me. Well, I should do so. Joel was very happy and clung on to me. Just like the stories, right? Lovers would go through Oblivion to save each other. Oh, I see. She was reading a lot of novels lately. Except Oblivion is normally the equivalent of hell, so I guess she is excited for her own reasons. I'm not sure what is going on, but we should stick together until the reality shifts once again. We have to find Alina. Of course. Jellinar was all out to find Alina too. I don't understand the bond they developed, but it is all fine as long as there is nothing scary going on. Just as we got reunited with Wolf and TT, a man came running to Joel. Lord Commander, the enemies are coming from the sky. Just as the Main said that, the horn sounded once, twice, and thrice. It seems that the Night Watch see the Horde as dangerous as the White Walkers. What came from the sky was an airship with red balloons carrying it. It is the Queen's reprisal. Damn, this quagmire is so vivid. Is this a flying ship, John? Can you figure out how to make one? Wolfer got excited as soon as he saw the ship. I didn't reply as I was expecting to see the owner of the ship and the antagonist of this nightmare, the Dark Lady, Queen of the Forsaken, Sylvanas Windrunner. I couldn't help but to get excited. This is one of my favorite villains of all time. She emerged to the front of the flying ship looking at our direction. She seemed to be giving orders and getting ready to sweep over the trenches on the wall. I released my magicka until it could be seen ready to receive whatever she is throwing. I then called upon the ashen flames and made a gigantic fireball. The forces on the flying ship reacted to the big fireball by shooting all kinds of projectiles. I was covered by shields and got my moment to launch the fireball. The ship managed to avoid my attack, exposing a big part of the hull towards the attacks from the watch. Arrows were exchanged in a bloody manner, but I wasn't done yet. The next attack was a meteor spell. I raised my hands up, and the magic took its time to get charged. The meteor normally gets formed in a high altitude before it comes down. Luckily, I took my time and released the meteor. The spell descended down on the flying ship, blowing up one of the balloons and taking down a lot of the weak forces on it. The balance of the ship tilted and rammed into the wall with a loud bang. An earthquake was felt, and the whole wall started to shake. As we were standing on its side, a large chunk of that side that got rammed started cracking, and a loud sound of ice breaking was heard. Brace yourselves. The edge of the wall broke, and fissures formed on the ground. We were right in the center of the falling area. Shit, to me. I called on Wulfer and Nefertiti, who were killing the enemies that jumped down from the ship. They were a bit far, and unlike me and Jelliner, these two has no means to land from a high place safely. Lightning will strike soon. Nice timing. I'm still not leaving anything for chances. All I could do was to start using telekinesis and drag them all the way towards me. It was a true labor. Once I could touch them, lightning flashed and the scene changed. Third-person POV. It was by far the weirdest nightmare John has been to in Quagmire. He was not sure what this place was, but for some reason, it came in black and white. The world itself was black and white. It somewhat scared even John himself, let alone the rest. The space was really sickening to begin with. Okay, you three need to calm down before we figure out where Alina is. Just as John tried to assure them. No, my skin, it is even paler. Jelliner screamed. Homan, why are you so weird? Nefertiti backed away. This is making me sick. Wulfer collapsed. John's fear came true. The three couldn't control the shock. It took him quite a while to calm them down. As he just was making sure they won't panic again, he started to take notice of the surroundings. It was a modern city once again. The theme was somehow poor and full of snow. The buildings were all back, and the city had a lot of cars, yet no trace of life. John felt a presence coming from upstairs once again, but this time there was no hostility from it. The wall broke, and a large man jumped through it. The four were in wonder of the dramatic appearance of that man. Just as the man reached the ground with a superhero landing and dusted off the bricks from his long overcoats, John recognized him immediately. Marv! Hey, kid! The man greeted John and ran to a car, driving it as fast as possible. John was gratified from what he just saw. So did the rest. The man they saw had a really scary face and was as tall as John himself. John, is this also a nightmare of yours? Wulfer asked. John was frozen for a while until he spoke once again. Let's hope it doesn't reach the nightmare level. John wasn't sure what the Augur and Shadow were doing, but he didn't want to come to this world the most. It is where something that makes John afraid exists. It was the world of Sin City. Chapter 189. In a Quagmire 6, A Dame to Kill For. And, first of all, Happy New Year. And sorry for the delay. I was traveling all day. Also, next chapter is the last of Quagmire chapters. Sin City, maybe not the scariest movie out there, but John had a weakness in his past life to a certain actress. Those eyes that scare the 9 lives out of him. He calmed himself down and tried to convince himself that this is just a dream. Still, he knew very well that dreams and reality are always the same things in Quagmire. Let's get moving. He picked one of the empty roads and walked while looking through every corner. It was until he found a usable care that he unlocked it with magic and checked if it was working. "Get in. Why are we riding this?" Wolfer asked. "To avoid attention." "Of who?" Joel asked. John looked at her with a pale face and turned his head the other way. The old car ran on the road smoothly. It has been a long while since John drove a car, but he was still not that bad. At least the car didn't go off for the first few minutes. "John, I can swear these things are the same things from your sketches." Wolfer asked. "They are. Can you make anything like this?" Wolfer kept going. "I don't want to destroy the nature too early." John's replies were short and showed that he wasn't comfortable with the place around him. Wolfer and the rest read the mood and didn't talk anymore. During the ride, a few police cars were spotted in pursuit of other cars driven by criminals. A lot of gunfights broke out, and the place was not peaceful at all. John would always point his hand out of the car to use telekinesis or a fireball to get rid of whatever made him irritated. Strange enough, a colored man made an appearance on the road, and he looked really disgusting. He was a man with a goblin-like face, and all his skin was yellow. This was the yellow bastard. For this character, John had to stick his head out of the window and fuss arrowed it, just like that. To the weird gazes he received from the passengers, John only acted indifferently and shot a fireball towards the yellow mess, ending any possible chance for its survival. Still, this doesn't reassemble the Basin City I know of. John was comparing his memories to the place, and it didn't feel right. Some of the nightmares looked like reality, but changed some of its features. Some nightmares were far from reality. Some were far from both. John came to the conclusion that this is the first type. Strangely, Basin City was applied on a part of Skyrim, and John clearly could tell that it was Winterhold. He navigated on that theory and arrived at a big casino on the side of the road. The sign read Katie's. This was a place John recognized, so he pulled over and walked toward it, followed by his party. Once he walked it, the atmosphere resembled a real casino. Drinks, barmaids, strippers, and all that jazz. John simply waved his hand, and a few times, and some wallets disappeared from some pickets and teleported to his pocket. Rift 10 will be terrorized when you decide to visit next time. Wolfer commented in a low tone. John has indeed become a scary thief, but he wouldn't use the art of magic in such trivial acts anymore. Unless it is something important, John wouldn't go back to crime that easily. Anyway, after he surveyed the place with his eyes, he found some friendly face to talk to. Approaching the man that was drinking on the bar, John casually picked one of the empty seats right beside him. The man seemed to be avoided for his appearance, but John was as tall as him, so there were no hard feelings. That was one way to get off home. Through a wall, I mean. John ordered a drink and talked first. "Oh, didn't think you could make it across the street. And look at that. You're all the way here." Marv smiled at the other fellow hulkling who sat beside him and blew some of the smoke of his cigar on John. "Heard about you." John looked with half an eye at Marv. "They say you are a hard man with the heart of a teddy bear." Marv opened his eyes wide, not expecting to be taunted that fast. Still, he was cool with it. He just extinguished the cigar on the bar and shook his shoulders. Might be true. John smiled and didn't say anything until his bear arrived. "Looking for a woman," he said. "Isn't that the point of life?" Marv also picked up a glass and replied calmly. John couldn't find a comeback, so he stuck to the subject. "Black hair and crimson eyes, a woman of quality. Her name is Alina." Marv raised his brows and didn't reply. John pointed for the bartender girl to refill from Marv. "You sure about her?" Marv asked. John nodded naturally. "Well, you came to the right place." Marv said that and turned around to face the dancing platform. John's attention was pointed to the platform, and just like that, a second later, lights flashed and an announcer spoke. "Ladies and gentlemen, we from Katie's are happy to present to you your favorite cowgirl, Nancy." The announcer stepped aside, and from the back walked a certain stripper that John recognized. Nancy Callahan was one of the characters that worked as a stripper and was famous for her iconic cowboy-themed dance and fashion style. Not just that, today as well the one you know and love, everyone's favorite doctor, Alina. John felt his head going light and looked at Marv, who was grinning to him. Alina walked out from the back, dressed in the strangest thing John ever imagined her to be in. Even in this world devoid of colors, Alina's red eyes didn't lose their color, adding to that the embarrassing red lingerie under the white doctor coat she was in. John lost all the words he was preparing for her and couldn't keep up with what's going on. The two girls on the platform started getting into the action as soon as the music started, and the performance was way too erotic. John tried to act, but he was not sure how to stop Alina. Wolfer turned the other way. Jelinek was not sure what to do. Nefertiti was normally not aware of what is going on. It's soon when John finally was about to lose it and released all his aura in the casino. Not a second passed, and chaos broke out everywhere. Everyone became scared and crazy, trying to jump over each other to escape from the place that turned from the heaven they sought to the hell they fear. John's aura was accurate and chased off the crowd that was watching the strip show. He then quietly walked to Alina. Alina got frightened from the scene that just happened and attempted to run away as fast as she could. John was about to catch her, but all of a sudden, tens of men with guns came out from the sides and started shooting at John. Marv and John's party jumped behind the bar to avoid the bullets, but John remained still facing it all like that. With his two hands, John casted a strong spell that stopped all the bullets mid-air. The shooters were shocked silly, but John didn't wait for another round and struck them all with lightning magic. Sadly, Alina was long gone. She seemed to have escaped very fast. The only clue left was Marv. John looked towards the direction Marv was in, and the latter came out to see what happened. Marv was seemingly impressed with John killing all those shooters, even though he couldn't see what happened. Just as he was about to comment, he realized why John was looking for him. I understand. You can just go find her at the W.I.T. John didn't seem to understand what that was. Marv noticed and continued. She is an actual doctor. She will be in the W.I.T. for sure. If you don't know where is it, then just go to the north and find the highest tower. John silently nodded and went out to get the car, and the rest followed him silently. John was standing in front of the highest tower in the northern part of the city, and his face was cringing hard. It seemed that W.I.T. stood for Winterhold Institute of Technology, this nightmare's variant of the College of Winterhold. John ignored the fact and walked directly to the entrance. With his detection spreading around the place, he noticed some tracks and followed it to a higher floor. The place looked cold, but finding Alina was not that hard. Once he arrived at the floor she was on, he saw her going out of a certain room, and she saw him. Her face paled, and she was about to scream, but he moved his hand as fast as possible and used telekinesis to pull her towards him. Alina was left from the floor and directly flew to John's arms. Muffling her voice, John dragged her to the empty room she just came out from, and their confrontation started. Alina was depressed, too depressed to the point that she put her head between her arms and cried. Jelinek was standing beside her, trying to console her, and John took Wolfer outside. She regained her true self, but she also remembered how the dream was like, and she was too depressed to do such a cheap act in front of John. A girl from a noble house like her was utterly ruined by the mere idea, even though it was not her. From what John understood, her personality in the dream was that of a doctor at the wit with a part-time as a stripper. It was awkward, but it really fitted the plot of Sin City. A mafia member, a mutant coven leader, an exiled person to the frontier, and finally a stripper. I'm not sure if this is because of me or you my friends are all that awesome. John was having a hard time summing the whole situation up. What about the nightmare that you woke up in? Wolfer asked. An illegal immigrant. Join the band then. Both sighed and were waiting for the next bolt of lightning to strike to figure out how to exit this world now that they found Alina. But as they were discussing that in the corridor in front of Alina's room, footsteps were heard, and from one side, and a lot of armed people came in. On their lead was a certain astonishing beauty with an evil look on her face. John was about to deal with whatever that was coming, but he saw that woman and his body froze. It was her, Ava Lord, an antagonist played by Eva Green, the evil face that could scare John dare. Chapter 190, Into Quagmire and the Temple of Vermina. John's face turned pale once he saw that lady. Wolfert didn't expect to see John making such expression, but he realized that the situation was something they should waste time on. If John, that walking magic cannon, can't deal with the situation, then the objective is to run. "We are leaving," Wolfert shouted and knocked the door open. Alina seemed to have calmed down and found something more covering to dress into. Once the ladies went out, they all saw the new visitors. "Dr. Alina, I'm sure we had an appointment. Are those people related to our business?" The woman on the lead of the group walked calmly towards Alina. Wolfert notified Joel that John was in a pinch, so she took action first. Putting her hands on the wall of the corridor, Joel applied her aura, and the wall was burst, making a cloud of dust scream. Using the chance they have, Wolfert dragged the frozen John. The whole group took the other way, escaping. "What's wrong with him?" "I don't know. Maybe this woman is something that can scare him. Such a thing exists. Don't worry, Hillman. We'll protect you." On the other side of the wall, the woman with colored green eyes and blue lipstick smiled with viciousness at the rubble. "I don't know what is that, but get them." To her words, all the men around her moved through the rubble. Gunshots were heard throughout the campus as Wolfert led the team out. It was annoying how silent John was. "Are you going to stay like that for too long?" John heard Shadow's voice echoing into his head. "What's going on, Shadow? This reality is taking too long to shift. It seemed that your flawless performance in the past few reality shifts has vexed Vermina enough to the point that she personally maintained the reality when she sniffed your fear. What do you expect me to do? Didn't you see how that woman looked at me? As if she's going to carve you up and eat your liver. So you fell it too. Leave me alone." Even a being like Shadow was mentally affected by that look. After some maneuvering, John managed to grab a hold of himself and started looking for a way out. According to what Vermina said, she would wait for him in her temple at the center of her realm. After some analysis, the augur estimated that it should be at the highest or centermost point of the realm. With that in mind, John and his team managed to escape the WIT and chose to head south. After some time, lightning finally flashed and reality shifted. John still chose to keep going as south can go, as he believed that they have strayed too far into the edges of Quagmire. What made him believe that he was wrong was how many times the reality in Quagmire started to shift. It started focusing on John's fake fears that were into his head, and a lot of movies came out to life. If John wasn't an otherworlder, he would have vomited from all the civilizations and reality shifts that were projected by the realm. Actually, Wolfert was the first one to start feeling sick. It wasn't normal at all to experience different realities which day and night weren't stable at all, and all felt completely vivid. Jelliner and Alina also became sick, but a zombie apocalypse train pushed them all back on track. Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Jurassic World, Mad Max. This realm is going all out the more we head south. John declared as he was supporting Alina up. "What are all those nightmares? Are you all right, John? Do you really see all that when you sleep?" Alina wasn't sure how John is acting all right in these environments. John didn't know whether to laugh or cry. None of them were his nightmares, but the realm was really putting on a serious fight by projecting all these movies. There were even those gigantic walking Legos being trapped in a train tunnel and swimming with oversized sharks. "It's okay. As long as we could finally bring you home, everything will be resolved just fine." Alina felt touched by John's words. John then conjured 3 new flame hawk Atranax and hopped on one with Alina while keeping her in his embrace. "What happened with Father?" Alina asked. "Since you 4 disappeared, things went really in a dramatic situation. Your father is okay, but he was worried so much about you. We headed into the Tower of Dawn together and ventured to its inner sanctum. He was trying hard to keep calm and did some unreasonable things, but eventually we succeeded to get Vermina's attention. From that point, I dived into Quagmire alone." "I see. I'm sorry to drag you into this." Alina got closer to John, who didn't really mind it at all. "I'm already dragged without you doing anything. John got closer to Alina, who looked away after understanding what John had in mind. Even after looking away, John didn't seem to be going to stop anytime soon. You know, that dance you did a while ago, it was nice, especially the thing you did with the whip. John started reminding Alina of her short-lived career as a stripper. Alina's face became even redder, and she was struggling to break free from John to the edge of the flame Atronach hawk's body, not even realizing that can she just conjure a new one and fly away. You know, old man Sigurd said that thing to me before I go into this realm. If I remember correctly, it was about him not being stingy with me anymore if I bring you home. Alina opened her eyes wide and looked at John, who was smiling with a smug face. So what do you think about it? I was planning to attend a friend's wedding, then take you around Skyrim. I can show you Rift Inn and take you to that inn in Whiterun. At this point, John was taking his smug act on Alina. She, on the other hand, was thinking about what will happen when they go home, no awareness of what was happening behind John. Jolinar was glaring daggers at John, who was taking his way with Alina. She kept lashing with her aura at him, and he responded with his aura back. The comical scene was being seen by Wulfr, who only sighed in reaction. He too was having some plans and was waiting to get out of this realm and invite Jorna too. During all that, the party advanced through Quagmire and reached a place where the nightmares stopped haunting people. John considered this the core area in Quagmire. Vermina should be close now. After trying to analyze the realm of Quagmire, John came to the conclusion that it is made of two areas, the core and the nightmare plains. The plains surrounded the core and were very vast and desolate lands, not that John was seeing it from the core. A lot of souls were wandering around, and also some mortals were present. It seemed that the place was a prison for those who got trapped in Quagmire. The core area was not as scary, but it felt dangerous. John saw a lot of castles and buildings that seemed to be full of not-to-be-messed with inhabitants. These were probably the Daedra that served Vermina. The place was overall dark and gloomy, yet John knew that the only way out of Quagmire is in the centermost region of the core itself, the Temple of Vermina. After a short ride, John and his party arrived at a mountain that looked as straight as a blade. The place was suffocating to be into, but the sharp road up the mountain was the only way to go there. Even flying around felt reckless. The sharp mountains seemed to be home to some creatures and a place where unpleasant Daedric ingredients grew. They were all property to the Lord of the Realm, so John kept going straight up the road. It was when he reached the highest point that he could see a large statue of the Daedric Prince Vermina. It looked like a female mage who was hiding her face behind an evil-looking mask. She was holding a strange staff in her left hand, and two large snakes seemed to have climbed from the ground all the way to her arms. This was the demonic and evil image is known about the Daedric prince called Vermina, the one whose sphere of influence includes nightmares, psychological terror and torment, dreams, bringing evil omens and stealing memories. Behind that statue was even a larger construct that carried a hint of the Roman architectural style with all the large pillars. John didn't dally around and advanced through these pillars followed by his party. After bypassing the entrance, only a place of darkness was what greeted them. John could sense his way and guided the others in a straight line without feeling any danger. It kept going like that until they saw a glimpse of green light. Reaching that, all they could find was a large glass orb emitting unearthly sound with a green mist flowing around it. It was the Orb of Vermina. Wasn't this thing destroyed? John was shocked silly when he saw the orb. The Orb of Vermina, named for its patron, was an orb apparently used for scrying. Its ability was beyond sense, as it could see anywhere and everywhere as long as the user knew what he or she was looking at. This was the favorite toy of Vermina that she uses to spy on the mortal world and pick praise for her amusement. This orb was used by Lord Nerafin to spy on Titus Mede II and his legions during the Great War. The orb was eventually removed from Nerafin by none other than Tyr Firemane and his friends on the cost of a grave injury that Tyr suffered that day. John later decided that it was stolen by the Daedric Prince Bothia, an enemy of Vermina, to use it for her own reasons. John heard the tale from Tyr personally, but it still didn't make sense. Why would the orb be intact? It was destroyed indeed, but in the end, and like everything that is mine, it will always return to me. A voice answered John's questions. John looked around and saw the person that made him freeze once again. It is Vermina. She took that form. I know. John has realized that Vermina took the form of evil Lord to mess with him again. With the darkness dispersing away, John could see clearly the face that gave him chills all over his spine. Vermina in that form walked while holding a staff in her hands, the staff of corruption. Even while walking around casually, Vermina was felt like a giant approaching John and his party. John, who never viewed the original spirits as gods for the first time in his life, understood why they were treated so. The eldest of all races, the original race, and the holders of the laws of power, Vermina gave a lot of power just by being around, even though that was not the real her, but only a fragment of the power the name Vermina showed to those particular band of mortals. No one moved a muscle. They all understood what was going on. Even a cat like Nefertiti was just frozen solid. I see that a certain idealistic brother of mine has left something special on you. I see. How laughable, though. For him and that demon to see eye to eye. Oh. Vermina looked at the staff in her hand, and it just disappeared. I wonder what sort of fun is yet to come. How many nightmares will I be watching from now on? Oh. Vermina continued with her self-monologue. She then looked at John viscously. Make sure to spread lots of dreams with that little toy I left for you, Vermina commands you. John could only nod. Vermina didn't seem to send John away as she started checking the people around him. What a bunch of misfits. Interesting. Oh. Vermina looked at Wulfur, Nefertiti, Jelinar, and finally Alina. When her eyes landed on Alina, however, she noticed something. Vermina pointed her hands at Alina, and something bizarre happened. Aya, followed by a painful scream from Alina. Two things flew out from Alina's head. Alina, no. John's face paled and moved as fast as he could to catch the falling body of Alina. Once he caught her and looked at her face, he fell silent, only looking back at Vermina with a shocked face followed by an angry look. Jelinar and Wulfur could see what happened to Alina's face. Her two crimson eyes, they were taken by Vermina. Chapter 191, The Return. I was 3, standing in front of my sleeping beauty in her chamber. Joel was nursing her, and Nefertiti was guarding them. It is no wonder now that Alina was tricked to go to the Tower of Dawn by an envious bitch from her clan. I understood everything once Nefertiti reported that she noticed the same evil sensation she could feel from Quagmire on that bitch. To explain what happened from the start, we should go back to 3 days ago when we left Quagmire. What we experienced was beyond sense or belief. After Vermina let us go from her realm, I remember waking up in the inner sanctum of the Tower of Dawn, and no one was there waiting for us. All I could find was Alina, Joel, Wolf, and Nefertiti lying on the ground around me. The next thing I found was the cursed staff, the skull of corruption, floating not far away from me. It was emitting an aura as if it was communing with me, calling for me to approach and claim it. Reluctantly, I took it and covered it with an old piece of linen cloth. After that, I tried to wake up Alina and the rest, but they were all fatigued. They were hungry and their power was fading. I couldn't understand why, but I started to heal them right away. Still, only Nefertiti showed signs of responding and woke up. "Human, hungry," that's what she said. From that alone, I understand what is going on and why no one came for us. We have been gone for more than what I expected. It all made sense now. We were inside the realm of Vermina. The law of time around an original spirit must be ruled only by them. It seemed that Sigurd was taken away by his clansmen. That time I transferred a lot magica into the 4 companions of mine until I almost exhausted myself. Their conditions got stabilized. After that, I cut a piece of my robe and covered Alina's eyes with it. The wounds around her eyes were not normal, but it will be her power that will she need to deal with such wounds. From the point onward, I conjured a few flame Atronak horses and put everyone on them, taking the way out of the cursed place. The way to the Moonblade clan was not easy. A snowstorm insisted that we should stay the first night in a cave, leaving me awake all night to fend against the attacks of the hungry packs of wolves. Nefertiti fully woke up in the next day, followed by Wulfur and Jelinar. Alina was the most exhausted one, so she didn't wake up and made me more worried. That day we ate grilled wolf meat, which tasted so terrible, but even I was hungry. At the end of the second day, we reached the mountain range where the Moonblade Fort was located and walked the hard way up. The storm was still blowing hard. The first thing that we encountered was the large gate blocking the road. It was the checkpoint where the Moonblade forces had on the mountain road. After trying to call for anyone beyond it, we discovered that it was abandoned, probably due to the storm. Bypassing it with teleportation was the only option, but I had to use Eye of the Mind to see past the gate and teleport through it. I was using magic to solve every problem that we ran into for the past few days to the point of exhaustion. Even though everyone except Alina was up, they were still weakened greatly. Even I had to supply Alina with my magicka to warm her from the inside. Beyond that gate was a straight road to the Moonblade Fort. Who welcomed us was a small force dispatched to deal with the intruders that got detected going through the gate. On the lead of that force was a girl called Elsa Moonblade. The culprit that I yet to know was behind all this mess. Once that girl's eyes landed on Alina, who was laying on a flame Atronak horse, I could see shock and clear killing intent toward Alina from that girl. Before I could even react, Nefertiti transformed to beast mode and jumped towards Elsa, baring her fangs and brandishing her claws. This would be a clear aggression towards the Moonblade, so I hastily pulled the oversized cat from her tail. What amazed me that time was Nefertiti's actions. She sensed all kinds of killing intents before and didn't even react like this. I had to apologize for her actions, saying that she was on alert all night. The girl who was leading the group almost wanted to seize Alina and kick us out, but I wouldn't let her so much lay a finger on Alina. My words were clear back then: lead us inside or stay out of our way. Either way, we are going forward. I didn't expect the skin of that girl to be so thick, but all the clansmen behind her cleared the way, and reluctantly she did so. From the behavior of Nefertiti, I knew that this girl is troublesome for Alina to be kept alive, but I later found out that she was behind the whole mess. Once Sigurd met us, he almost fainted when he saw Alina. My reunion with Jonrad wasn't as warm, but Alina's state was bad. I stopped him from removing the blindfold on Alina's eyes. I could only convince him that Alina overused her eye powers to fight off the nightmarish realm she was trapped in, and she is just resting. I can't let him. What has become of Alina's eyes? Nothing good will come from that at all. The good thing about Sigurd was that he trusted my words in the end, as we had already trusted each other, as we knew that the both of us wanted the best for Alina. And now we arrived at the point where I sat down in Alina's room, looking at her sleeping in a weakened state, and Joel was beside her. They both looked so weak and pale after going through that nightmarish realm. I didn't know what to do to wake her up, but I knew that she needs time to be able to wake up. I can't allow anyone else to see what happened to her eyes. This situation is far from over and needs to be contained. The next day, Alina showed signs of getting healthier, and Joel also took a fair share of rest. Wulfur, on the other hand, felt a fever, and I went and nursed him for the day. Nefertiti, who regained her health faster than anyone, reported that she sensed some weird movements around Alina's chambers last night. I didn't want to leave anything for the chance, as I knew who was moving suspiciously. It was that girl Elsa and her ugly little sister. To chew the flies away, I went directly to meet with Sigurd, who regained his youthful shape, and talked to him face to face while most of the elders were present. I want that girl Elsa locked away. This was what I said in front of everyone, just like that. Preposterous. John Dare, we realize that you are an ally, but don't take it too far. Elsa is one of the Moonblade's finest daughters. Exactly. She is to be wed to Zen Firemane, and her sister Kaya is to be wed to Ragnar Firemane. Who do you think you are to think you can talk shit about them? Some of the Moonblades were very displeased with my demands. The person in question herself was shocked by my direct demand and made a tranquil face once she got defended by her clansmen. I ignored them and looked at Sigurd. He made a calm face and replied, What are your reasons? First, she is the main suspect of conspiring to send Alina and my friends into a danger zone. Second, she showed a very disrespectful attitude toward Alina on many occasions. Third, she delayed Alina's arrival yesterday and wanted to kick us, Alina's company, away from the gates of the mountain. I broke out Elsa's actions into detailed crimes that made her look worse and worse. Still, every time I came up with something, voices of objection rose to debunk my accusations. Still, Sigurd always signaled them to shut the fuck up. And finally, I came to the last things I wanted to say. Lastly, I don't want an unwanted presence roaming around the chambers of my fiancée. No one said anything that time. These idiots just stared at me, then looked at Sigurd with eyes wide open. Sigurd's face didn't change one bit. He was just sitting there indifferently while looking down at everything and everyone. He then grinned. If my son-in-law wishes for it, then it shall be. Take that girl away to the Tower of Redemption. The voice they were waiting to speak out and teach me my place just shook the hall with these words. 2 guards of the Moonblades moved towards Elsa and dragged her away in voices of plea and stares of shock. This was just the start, I tell you. Wait until Alina wakes up. Just wait. Chapter 192, House Dare Assemble. And sorry about yesterday's chapter. I was applying for a job, law-related and all. I guess it is my first step to get reincarnated to Skyrim. Also a big shout-out to Jordan Gotthold. Finally, is getting some attention. And we hit 10K collection. Hooray! Sigurd didn't do this awesome move on his own. It was a fully planned act from start. I wouldn't be able to act in the Moonblade clan this disrespectfully anyway. Still, the reaction of the people around was worth it. Announcing my engagement to Alina on such short notice was a bit hasty, but I needed it to be able to act on her behalf. Sigurd, after all, is the patriarch and can't go around taking his daughter's side easily. Also, what is better than a former professional lawyer to defend Alina? Anyway, that girl Elsa was dragged away like a chicken taken for slaughter. I kept looking at her coldly until she was taken from my sight. Now, my status as Alina's fiancé can't be looked down on. I am a fire main, even though I was announced as a distant relative with the bloodline. All this, and that kept the atmosphere inside the Great Hall awkward. I was still receiving some gazes of hostility, but whatever, they all can go to oblivion as far as I care. Sigurd called the clan meeting off, and I was invited to his study. Little rascal, I may have given my consent, but that doesn't allow you to go around with a smug face like that. After that outstanding performance of mine, this guy said that. The nerve. Old man, I'm not going to argue with you anymore. I'll just take Alina and leave. I said and turned around. Hey, wait. At that moment, Sigurd dropped the attitude. He noticed that I got him and diverted the topic immediately. How is Alina's condition? Sigh. She is all right. Her eyes are healed, but she can't, turn it off anymore. Sigurd nodded and lowered his head gloomily. Why is it you? He asked. Excuse me. Why is it you who can't get hurt by her eyes? What is the secret? Oh, I see. For these words, I sat down on a chair opposite to Sigurd and started remembering how did it all go. Vermina, that Valdaedra prince, she wanted to use Alina for her own amusement. Just like how I got the staff that can spread the terror of Vermina in the mortal plane, Alina's eyes got blessed, or rather cursed, by Vermina. Her eye power became more powerful than before, very much powerful that they can actually cause material damage. Wulfr and Jelinar accidentally saw her eyes after Vermina, put them back, and they couldn't stay on their feet anymore, part of the reason why Wulfr fell ill the past few days. Jelinar was a lucky one, as she has more flexibility than Wulfr and, strangely, more vitality. She recovered immediately after I applied some healing. The ones who didn't get affected one bit were me and Nefertiti. Even though I understand why Nefertiti did not get affected, as she is linked to my power, and she is blessed by Herson, I don't understand why I don't get affected by Alina's power at all. Some of my theories are dependent on the Dragonborn stuff, which is rather everything is dependent on. I am not really upset, but I'd rather have something other than Akatosha's blessings and all that. In the end, after a week of being trapped in Quagmire, I got the Skull of Corruption, which is recorded in the books of history to have ridiculous abilities, and Alina acquired more eye powers. According to what we know, Alina can detect lies, scry other places, see some futures, tell fortunes, and after awakening, she can see clearer, further, slower, and can use a fear-type illusion power from her eyes. Alina herself hated the power she gained after awakening and never used her eyes in anything other than telling lies from truth. Now, Vermina forced Alina's eyes to be always on the awaken mode. Not just that, but it seemed that Vermina did something similar to what the Augur to me and Herson to Nefertiti did, and added something like an astral extension so that Alina's eyes can do more damage and cause not just ordinary state of fear. Alina's eye can now cause psychological terror and can make people sink into their own nightmares and God knows what else. Vermina won't just use me as a way to gain nightmares by that staff I got, but will also force Alina to do so by her own eyes. Such cruelty. I guess I was lucky to not lose any one of my friends to that Daedric prince and her realm. And now, to answer Sigurd's question as for why I don't get affected by his daughter's eyes, I wouldn't be able to say all that. Maybe something related to fate or whatever. That's all I could say. Fate as a term is an interesting topic, but one that can't be understood fully. Even the Greybeards and the Sigic Order rather not directly interfere with it. Actually, if I, the last Dragonborn, is to be stripped from my own fate as a Dragonborn before the prophecy is fulfilled, I may lose everything. It is not something to worry about, but fate, prophecies, and the Elder Scrolls are all related and can be said as the hardest topic to discuss between us, the students of mysticism. Father-in-law, you don't need to worry. I will do whatever it takes to help Alina out of that dilemma she is in. My master will never let her students suffer like that. We are a strong line of mages, and we take care of our own. There is definitely a solution. Yes, boy, for her sake. Yours and mine, too. Sigurd replied and looked depressed. I stood up and was about to go, but I halted my steps remembering the important matter I was here for in the first place. That girl Elsa, or whatever. I'm not done with her, you know that, right? Sigurd looked and nodded. Anyone who tries to so much put a finger on Alina is a goner. I don't care if it is my niece or whatever, but she has to pay for sending my daughter to a cursed realm of oblivion. Sigurd said in a bloodthirsty tone. His killing intent activated his aura subconsciously, and that atmosphere around that monster felt overbearing to the extreme. This youth-like old man is another 60 years old monsters on par with John Rad and Hilda, not far than Nurina too. Just why doesn't he show off and act as lawless as I do? He would have solved a lot of problems rather than looking depressed all the time. It is fine, father-in-law. I will take care of the matter. Just tell me, when do the guards switch shifts for that Tower of Redemption? Around midnight. Don't be too careless. You can count on me. With that all said and done, I left Sigurd's study for Alina's chambers. In front of Alina's chambers, Nefertiti was stretching her limbs after taking a nap in her beast form. None of the servants of the Moonblades dared to come close to the oversized cat, and thus Alina's matters were only handled by Joel. Even though Alina woke up earlier, it was only a slight response to her surroundings. She could be fed and listen to some words. She was still blindfolded, though. I tried to remove the blindfold, but she panicked and almost cried. She said that they sometimes feel like burning and sometimes cause her pain, but that a normal reaction to the changes in her eyes. She needs to adapt to the changes first before she could feel comfortable once again. I spent the whole afternoon analyzing the magical power in her eyes, but I need an expert's opinion. That's why I will take her to Nurina as soon as possible. As I went into Alina's room, I was charmed once again with the elegance of it. Its fine furniture that was personally imported from High Rock, her soft covers and stuffed dolls, the calming incense that was imported from Hammerfell, her bed's red canopy that made it feel like a queen is residing there. What can I just say? I didn't notice the beauty of this place at first, as I was worried about Alina, but now it came back to life after she woke up. I sat in front of Alina, who was wearing a large robe and sitting silently on her bed. She seemed to have fully awoken, but still remained blindfolded. Jelinar was sitting beside her reading her some book. I'm glad to see their relationship becoming this close. How do you feel? I asked while caressing her soft, small hands. Alina smiled softly and nodded. I feel okay, Sane. John. Yeah, you need to get used to calling your fiancé with his name from now on. I replied. Alina smiled and didn't say anything. I was used to her covering her lower face, so I was used to read her mood through her eyes, but now it became somewhat upside down as her eyes were covered. I'm sorry if Sigurd and I rushed in so fast. It was Alina hurriedly, but her index on my lips, signing for me to stop. Being your fiancé has just made my life better and better. No matter how sudden it came, I now don't feel sad about what happened to me. I understand, I said while taking her hand close to me and kissing its back. I swear I will find a way to help you see again. I said, then pulled her close to me. I couldn't help but hug her. On the side, Jelinar was looking at this pink scene while smiling. My hand moved on its own and pulled her in my embrace. You too. I swear I will heal your eye. It was a bit too greedy for me to have two beauties all for myself, but I'm a greedy person and I admit it. These two beauties are my future wives, and I don't care about anyone's opinion. Yeah, all these sweet words, and Joel started to ruin the mood, but spank. Her two but cheeks got spanked by Alina and me almost at the same second. In this warm atmosphere, a small creature stuffed herself between the three of us and squirmed to fit in the place. Woman, so warm. Oh, I almost forgot her meow jesty. Now, with a beauty on the left, a beauty on the right, and a cat on my lap, I can proudly announce that House Dare is coming to be in a splendid way. With all the members gathered, we need to. Let's spill some blood. Yeah, it's about time. Jell agreed. The four of us separated from each other and started to get ready to go to the Tower of Redemption. Chapter 193, Beyond Good and Bad. Midnight in the back of the Moonblade Mountain. A little girl walked with unsteady steps. She was carrying a blanket while heading towards an isolated tower. The tower was heavily guarded, and the little girl was naturally seen as she wasn't even trying to hide. A guard waved his torch to guide the girl to him. Young maidservant, what brings you to the Tower of Redemption this hour? The guard looked at the girl with a cold gaze. The little girl seemed to be uncomfortable with his gaze and was a little bit shy on words. And Miss Elsa, she needs blankets. Fine, leave them here and go. The guard stretched his hand to grab the blanket from a girl, but she stepped back hurriedly. This is for Miss Elsa. Miss Kaya and the elder told me to deliver it first. The girl acted with caution and hugged the blanket she was holding tightly. TSK, don't test my patience, brat. The guard was displeased with the girl's attitude and seemed to be going to pull the blanket forcefully. Keep your hands to yourself, Paul. Steve, another guard saw the commotion and cut in. Let the girl in, man. If an elder is sending her, then just let do what she came for. Don't offend people we can't offend. But the Patriarch just imprisoned Miss Elsa, You think the Patriarch will care if an elder came to bust your ass? Just let her in and spare us. Sigh. All right, you guide her in. Paul let the girl pass, and Steve guided her into the tower. It was a high building built in the Nordic style. The only flaw is its location that was on an isolated peak that made all the coming and going winds go through its gaps, and even make ice get formed inside. The place was some sort of frozen hell, and the moonlight that illuminated the place made it even more terrifying. This place is where the main family members get punished. The guard led the way into a higher floor that was even more chilly than the first floor. Even the strong guards would need to build up some resistance to get through the place. The guard looked at the girl who followed him and was about to tell her not go further, but once he turned around, he almost dropped his jaw. The place that made him shiver didn't even affect the girl one bit. She was walking normally while looking at the guard with her expressionless big blue eyes and red rosy cheeks. The guard gulped on his saliva and smiled with a bit of fear. He thought to himself that this girl is not a simple maid. After all, she may be one of the children the hidden clans pick up for their unique talents. This is something a lowly guard like him shouldn't have interfered with from the start. Young lady, Miss Elsa is just around that corner. The guard spoke politely and pointed to a certain place. The girl looked and saw a cell with just a few steps away. With a nod, she walked forward on her own and reached the cell looking at the person inside it. Inside the cell sat a tall girl with a thin body, black hair, gray eyes, and all the other features of a Moonblade, Elsa Moonblade. She sat in a lotus position, and a small hint of aura could be seen, trying to fend the cold away. For you. The little girl passed the blanket through the bars of the cell, and the blanket fell on the floor. Elsa opened her closed eyes and saw something she needed dearly from someone she didn't recognize. She just moved and grabbed the blanket covering herself as fast as she could. Did you bring food? Elsa asked in a pained tone. The expressionless girl shook her head. TSK, they just sent you with a blanket? Was it all my father could sneak for me? Damn it. Just go away and bring something warm for me to eat. The little girl looked at Elsa, then just turned around and walked away. Elsa remained in her cell, cursing her dumb luck for being dragged all the way to this cursed place. She was standing on top of hundreds and under a few, but now her status has fallen so low to the point that even a lowly maidservant didn't speak with her in proper manners. These damnable people, how dare they? To think they could sway the clan to turn on me like that. Her fiancé, huh? We'll see to that. Just wait until I get out of here. This time, that bitch Alina won't even see sunlight. And that John dare. I swear I will make him suffer for it. He will. Are you serious about doing so? A voice cut Elsa's cursing. Elsa didn't expect to hear that voice here of all places and jumped away, then turned around. How? Why? Who Elsa saw was the little girl from just a minute ago. Why was this girl in this cell? And how could she come from the other side? Not through the cell's door. Elsa wondered. The girl that barely could be seen as a 10-year-old brat looked down on Elsa, and the air around her changed. The cell wasn't tight or anything, but in front of that girl, Elsa felt like she was frozen not by cold, but by fear, primal monstrous fear that only an apex predator can give off. This girl was just standing, and Elsa only felt helpless and cornered. A weird movement was felt behind the girl that caught Elsa's eyes. It was something a human should not have. WH, why do you have a tail? Elsa questioned, and the girl tilted her head with a weak smile. To fluff you, my dear. The girl took one step towards Elsa as she said that. Elsa reflexively moved back, but she noticed another strange thing that humans shouldn't have. WH, why do you have claws? Elsa questioned, and the girl smiled wider. To grab you, my dear. The girl took one more step towards Elsa while saying so. Elsa reflexively moved back once more, but she noticed one stranger thing when a girl smiled. WH, why do you have big fangs? Elsa questioned, and the girl halted her steps. To shred you apart, my dear. The girl moved this time, and in a flash waved her claws and opened her mouth while jumping on Elsa. Screams and wails sounded, but no one heard even a shriek. I was waiting in the dark with Alina and Joel. We were standing in the outside and watching the situation at the tower. Nefertiti has done a splendid job delivering the blanket to that bitch Elsa and returned with the news. I sent her once again into that cell by teleportation this time, and she should have started playing with Elsa first. Nefertiti was taking the child form that we barely managed to achieve outside Quagmire. Her appearance was adorable and heart-melting. She can just bless the whole damn Nern by just existing in the same plane of existence. She doesn't like the child form that much and prefers the other forms over it, but she still needs to learn its charm later. The only problem we faced in the transformation process was how to conceal some parts of her, like her fluffy tail and her big cat ears on top of her head, also her claws and fangs. Still, she was so devilishly cute. The loveliest thing was how she said John to me for the first time. I almost died from the happiness, I tell. My heart literally skipped a few beats. Anyway, back to reality. I was waiting for the right time to teleport into the cell. While doing so, I observe Alina and Joel, who were having some girl-to-girl talk away from me and were giggling to each other. I really wanted to eavesdrop, but Joel's stealthy aura can block sounds and life signals, even from me. I was a bit concerned about Alina's and Joel's relationship, but I started to get the feeling that it is becoming even smoother than their relationship with me. Seriously, sigh. A few seconds later, I felt Nefertiti's telepathic signal and understood that we can come in now. Let's go. I called the girls to come closer. They approached me while smiling and didn't say anything. I held them both and looked at the tower with my aura, then activated the magical runes, and space twisted with us at the center. The next thing we saw was the inside of a desolate cold cell that felt a bit scary. So this is the infamous Tower of Redemption, I said while looking around the cell until my eyes spotted a bloody figure thrown in a corner. A black cat was sitting straight beside it and seemed to be waiting. Good job, Nefertiti, I said, and she came closer and jumped on my shoulder. Looking at Elsa, I can tell that she had the best time of her life being fluffed halfway to death. Nefertiti has torn her clothes and shred her flesh to the point where Elsa can only be described as a person of a horror movie. Damn, this stupid cat made a score on that poor girl. Joel spotted Elsa and started checking her around. Idiot human, know your place. While us three were looking coldly at the half-dead Elsa, Alina seemed to be in distress. I know we talked about this and I agreed to it, but I never thought it would be this messy. Alina said. Even though she was blindfolded, she could tell the area around her and smell the reek of the blood. She was a bit reluctant when it comes to torture, but I left Joel to guide her around the whole process, so she would be fine and mentally ready. She joined a lot of fights and killed many people before, but she wasn't into torturing and killing slowly. Still, she has a very awesome aptitude to that anyway. It's okay, sister. We would just fry her little brain and be done with her for good. An eye for an eye, you know? In your case too, though. Joel kicked Elsa to wake her up and came to guide Alina into position. I stepped forward to the naked, bloody girl and grabbed her neck to carry her up. Weak screams came from her mouth, but one slap was enough. I still had to heal her enough for her to remain strong for what Alina is going to do. After a bit of healing, the wounds on Elsa started to close up and her consciousness was fully regained. You monsters, leave me. Monsters, she started crying while calling us monsters. I wanted to retort and say, she is the monster, but I came to a moment of realization and thought about it. By Ismir, she is right. We are monsters. As I said so, the other three also seemed to have come to the same realization. I'm a dragonborn. That's pretty much enough to qualify me for monsterhood. Jelena can be herself, and that is considered a monster too. Nefertiti is the fluffiest monster, no argue about it. And Alina can be a newbie in the field, but her new eyes qualify her to monsterhood splendidly. Okay, enlightenment time is over. Time to do the monster work. I pushed Elsa on her knees in front of Alina and held her head straight. Joel came behind Alina and closed their heads together from the back. Sister, you ready? Alina was still conflicted. Joel hugged Alina tightly and intimately, which rather seemed a bit sexy. This is beyond what is good and bad, sister. This is your justice, my justice, John's justice, that cat's justice, and Wolfer's justice too. We were all harmed by that bitch. We have seen unsightly nightmares before John comes for us. Not to mention what happened to you. Now, you're the only one who can give her taste of it. Would the woman of John chicken out here? To Joel's swaying words, Alina's held her breath, and her anger swelled up. Joel smiled once she sensed Alina's change of atmosphere and started untying her blindfold. She is all yours, Joel said, so while kissing Alina's cheek, then stepping back with Alina's blindfold. Alina's shut eyes opened slowly and met with mine. As usual, her eyes have no power over me. The one who tensed up was Elsa. Her body twisted and deep groans came out. Strange changes started appearing too. The blood vessels on her neck started lining up as if a black liquid was running through them and became visible. Her eyes started tearing blood. Her mouth was shut tightly to the point where her teeth crushed each other. I didn't expect to see that. This was just an eye contact. In Quagmire, the wolf and Joel felt a strong strike of pain and fell off their feet, but this is far more powerful than that time. Elsa was being tortured to a point I have never seen before. Alina was shaken for a bit, but she managed to hold up and keep still. She then spoke up. "Stay still." To Alina's words, the squirming Elsa froze while groaning. "Shut up." To Alina's words, the groaning Elsa didn't utter a sound. I was curious and used a bit of my mystic arts to see what does that girl see. I try to get how she feels with a bit of magic. I got an image of her eyesight with my Eye of the Mind spell. Alina was seen from that girl perspective. Alina spoke up once again. "You are in the dark, all alone." With these words, what Elsa saw was a dark space with only herself and two glowing red eyes. You feel your body being torn, but it is all intact. The nervous signals of Elsa started receiving foreign orders and reacted to them. I didn't feel what she felt, but her body was probably feeling to all these orders that were being transmitted through the red eyes. Amazing. You feel ants crawl under your skin. The nervous system of Elsa reacted once again. You are being eaten. You are being shredded. You are being devoured. You are being frozen. You are being burned. You are being frozen. You are being burned. You are being frozen. You're being burned. You're being frozen. You're being burned. Alina went all out. I never expected to see all that. The nervous system of Elsa was reacting in such a splendid way to Alina's words. I cut the line and returned to observe the effect on Elsa's body. Goddamn, this went beyond all sense. Even though Alina's power are illusions, her eyes were making the reality inside Elsa's body shift, just like how Quagmire does. This is way too overpowered than what I could even think of. I looked at Alina, who seemed to have exhausted herself, and closed her eyes. She kept Elsa alive while doing all that torture. This thing about her being a newbie in monsterhood, we need to talk about that. Chapter 194, Visitors. A few days ago, we left the Moonblade clan grounds with an aura of innocence and peace. No one suspected us to know anything about what happened with Elsa Moonblade. The matter became a shock after Elsa was found in her cell between life and death. The whole Moonblade clan started searching for the maidservant that was the last person who saw Elsa, but no girl with such description was found. Of course, no one can even know that Nefertiti can turn into a human now. It was only me, Alina, and Joel who know that. Of course, Elsa was taken out of that cursed tower, and all sort of mages examined her condition. The wounds that should have come from outside were all from inside. The experts in medicine among the Moonblades were shocked senseless from what they saw. All agreed that no human can inflict such damage. To them, this was the work of something mysterious. Of course, I was suspected from the very first second, but my alibi was solid. Most of the Moonblades saw me all over the fort that day guarding Alina's chambers, or some illusion I created to fool them. After the inspection was over, two rumors were being spread. The first was that Elsa got claimed by the evil Daedra that should have taken Alina. This is the one I started spreading. The other rumor was that Elsa got punished by Kine for assaulting her favorite child, and that one was probably spread by Sigurd. Regarding Elsa's condition, I can estimate that she lost her mind. She was healed, but her body was crippled and her mind went cocoa. She doesn't even react anymore, but sometimes she starts screaming and always see nightmares. Sigurd kept looking at me as if I am some sort of a monster that time, but he almost cried when he knew that this was Alina's handiwork. He was so shocked that he spent the day all pale. This man's health is a matter of concern now. I can tell that his heart is becoming weaker since the day he got to know me. Anyway, we decided to leave the Moonblade clan this morning and rode to Winterhold accompanied by a lot of guard from the Dare Dragon Company and the Moonblade clan. Alina was riding with me, by the way. As we are officially engaged, we can interact more from now on, which was rather nice. I wonder why Master didn't come to check on us when we went missing. Alina asked. I was curious too. Still, I gave it some thought, and it seemed that she forced herself to stay. Forced herself? We are her only apprentices, and you are her son. Why would she? I thought for a while, but I could only think of one reason. It probably has something to do with Grandmaster. Alina paused for a while. I am so envious you got to meet our Grandmaster. Hee. I know. Once Alina found out that I met our Grandmaster and our great-grandmaster, she almost fainted and started crying and kicking around. She is that type of person who craves to see the more knowledgeable people and discuss our art with them. Missing the chance to meet our Grandmaster was more tragic to her than getting her eyes blessed by Vermina. She kept nagging me to tell her the identity of our Grandmaster and great-grandmaster, but I am sure she won't handle the shock. I myself wouldn't have handled if Nurina wasn't kidnapped by Alf back then. Just don't make such a heartbroken face. If you ever meet her in the future, just turn to the other direction and run. She isn't the monster I would want to cross myself. Umph. Impossible. I would get cursed once again to oblivion if I don't. Yeah. Act haughty all you want just because there's a Dragonborn who is foolish enough to go through oblivion and bring you back. I'll be relying on you then. This girl, she is becoming more comfortable with me. A bit of time passed, and Alina spoke again. You also promised me you would find a way for me to open my eyes again. And Joel's eye too. About that. Yep, I have some ideas on how to do that. I thought about the matter really deeply. Looks like I will get busy once I head back home. What are the chances? For Joel. I mean, not that bad. I have acquired a book from Grandmaster, and a lot of progress will be made in my techniques from now on. The more I think about it, the more possibilities come to my head. Even regrowing limbs is not that much of a problem. In theory, of course. I said, and Alina seemed to be surprised. Being in theory means it is still possible. Yes, the problem is the amount of energy we need. Luckily, I am working on a major project that will change the way we use magic and open up many great possibilities. I can't wait to be your assistant. Alina seemed excited and stuck to me. Unlike Joel and Wolf, who can't stand studying, Alina can research for days without getting bored. It was very nice to have another weirdo who shared the same hobby as me. When I arrived at this world, researching magic was like me. When I got my first computer when I was young, discovery was my sole drive back then. The new generations, especially those damn brats that were born after year 2000, may not have the same feeling we older kids had, but I fell in love with computers so much. It all happened again with magic, but it was rare to see a nerd like me, yet Alina was that nerd. And about us, sharing notes of research is not a simple decision. Each mage's notes are more sacred than their family members sometimes, and sometimes even couples don't share these notes together. Alina and I were very willing, though. And that reminded me of the last piece of sketch I was working on. About your problem. I mentioned to Alina her eyes problem. What about it? I have something in mind, but I will need all hands on deck. That includes Nurina. I am really not that distressed, John. I can already use my aura to see 10 meters in all directions. It will make everyo TSK. This thing I have in mind is not just for you, but also for me. My soul needs it, you know? Is it something weird from your sketchbook? Oh, you know about that? Yeah, Joel told me that you showed a sketch to Wolfer, and he held it as if he saw the third volume of the lusty Argonian maid. Puffed. Wolfer would feel so embarrassed if he heard this one. The lusty Argonian maid is a famous novel in this world, but the third volume is very rare. Only collectors like myself have it. I saved it long ago when it was about to be auctioned in Riften in some dark auction. One of the reasons why Catatosker name is so famous. And speaking of Wolfer, he was riding at the back while talking with Brenda, my cousin. Hey, Big Wolf. I called for him, and he rode beside me and Alina. Lord and Lady Lovebirds, how can I be of service? And he's in a good mood, too. When we reach Winterhold, you're going to cook me something. I said, cook. You know I'm not that much of a weight. What are the ingredients? Hee. Moonstone, malachite, and quicksilver. Wolfer paused for a while with his eyes open wide. F for that. He realized what I wanted. Yes, this is the best combination for enchantments, right? But that is too hard. Even for my skill, this is beyond me. Come on, I will gather the best materials and personnel for you. I'm even bringing some rarities from my vault. Wolfer understood what I meant, but he felt conflicted and excited at the same time. It all appeared on his face. He thought that it would be a waste of materials if he worked on it or something along those lines. Maybe you should invite Erlen Greymane. This is really beyond me. Wolfer was backing down for the first time. Sigh, you will do it like it or not. I am not really in a pinch, and we can use different material if this didn't work. Wolfer nodded and said he will think about it. He seems very troubled. What is it you are making? Alina asked. A special alloy for my special ladies, I said while looking at her and Joel. And I suppose it is a surprise. Yep, I'll be waiting then. Alina turned around and kept the cool attitude, but I could feel her cheeks curving into a smile. 2 days after that, we arrived at Winterhold and found a lot of expected and unexpected visitors waiting for us. The firemen's, and on top of them were mother and father, also the master alchemist Nurelian and his apprentice Quintus Navale, a Stormcloak messenger and an imperial envoy, and there was also some messages from Sviti and John Battleborn, delivered by an unexpected face, Lizette. Sigh, I guess I should ask Lord Divaith FYR about making me some clones. This is so busy. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.